Is that a starfleet, you know?
No, sure. Send the beans goes a good distance.
Because today is National Men Cook Dinner Day.
Yeah.
So, Emma, do you cook or does...
My mommy cooks.
Oh,
she
nice. Okay.
Yeah,
well, today,
that's good, Emma.
Yeah, Mary's a great cook.
All right.
Jamie Oliver's on YouTube.
Who cooks your house?
Well, I don't want to say I do the majority of the cooking, but I do the majority of the cooking.
I don't want to say it, but it's completely true.
So you asked me what's for dinner today. I said I cooked.
Yesterday's chicken.
Yes, 6 breasts of chicken in the oven yesterday. So I was going to do
what
today.
What way did you do them?
I just banged them in the oven. A bit of
water.
Season
them?
A bit of garlic on them. Just.
Is that it?
Yeah, tasty.
God, this is going to be dry today.
No, it's going to be super tasty.
You could sandpaper
super
with that
soft chicken with some nice gravy and vegetables.
You have to put the gravy on to drown out the dryness.
Get you away, right? The saltiness of it brings out the taste. No, stop it. But we better.
Don't have time.
Right, don't have
Talk
time.
about air fryers another day.
All right, the air oven. I didn't know there was air ovens.
Better than the fryer. You don't have to shake it. Multiple layers. Chicken on the top, steak in the middle, chips at the bottom.
Oh my god! What about does the fat not all drip all the way down?
That's why you see your chicken doesn't drip. I'm on about like goujons or something.
All right, okay.
And the meat is on the bottom. Then the chips.
Right. Oh, there's a sequence.
Of course there is.
We'll have to discuss this again.
It's very technical.
Okay.
All right. See you later, Lee. It's 9:45.
And we're all hungry for chicken.
It's 9:01. It's time for a news update. Good morning, Emma.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Donegal County Council is being urged to put pressure on Irish Water to reevaluate sewer treatment plants across the county. Councillor Michael McBride says there are many areas of Donegal where treatment plants were initially installed to deal with less than 100 homes and are now unable to cope with growing populations. He says in some areas, such as Kilmacrennan, a smell of sewage is evident. Councillor McBride says priority needs to be given to areas where there has been a sudden increase in residents.
I just asked that Donegal County Council would ask Irish Water to revisit their schedule of works on those and prioritise the towns and villages that have had a lot of extra people move into them, mainly Ukrainians, and that they would be prioritised for rebuilding, basically. Some of them, they're fairly large-scale bodies of work for to upgrade them plants, and I'm asking that them types of towns and villages would be put to the front of the queue now.
The Agricultural Minister is reassuring consumers there shouldn't be a problem with turkeys this Christmas. It comes as poultry owners have been issued with an order to house their flocks from next Monday to prevent the spread of avian flu. Earlier this week, a case of the bird flu was confirmed after a swan was discovered dead in County Cavan. Donegal Minister Charlie McConnell says the introduction of a housing minister is a precautionary measure.
The key objective here is to ensure that we keep all of our flocks and commercial flocks, and particularly, obviously really important in the next number of weeks and up to Christmas is our turkey flocks, which obviously Christmas being the absolute peak of the year, really important for families across the country and really important for farmers as well in relation to the income that derives from that. So that's why we have moved now by putting in place the housing order from next Monday. It was the earliest we've ever put the housing order in place.
And finally, an Inishowen councillor has hit out at Donegal County Council over the length of time it takes on occasion for a response to questions raised. This week's meeting of Inishowen Municipal District was adjourned for 15 minutes as Councillor Nicholas Crossan demanded an answer to a question he issued over 8 weeks ago. He was asking for the local authority for a total of how much was spent to run a free concert in Downings earlier this year. It came as a community festival in Ramelton was charged over €1,200 to facilitate road closures. Councillor Crossan says people deserve an answer.
I know that Donegal County Council, they must tick all the boxes when they're doing these, but at the same time, I think that for a simple question to be asked, there were 3 or 4 questions asked under that particular, and no answer come back. The other 2 councillors, one of the councillors unfortunately wasn't there, but I just feel like if we ask a question, we're entitled to get an answer for it.
Today's weather largely dry with sunny spells, just isolated showers with a chance of hail and thunder. It will stay quite cool with highs of just 8 to 11 degrees. That's all for now. We'll have an update again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Last Christmas, millions in cash prizes were won by people playing the National Lottery's Christmas scratch cards. This year, you could scratch and win up to €100,000 instantly. Play the National Lottery's range of Christmas scratch cards. The National Lottery. It could be you. Gift responsibly.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, a very good morning to you. 5 minutes past 9, Thursday the 3rd of November. How are you doing? I hope you're very well indeed. And thanks to Donald sitting in for me on Tuesday and Wednesday. But it's great to be back with you and continue the form of keeping us really busy on those phone lines, won't you? If you want to talk about anything to get it off your chest, you have a view, you want to share something, good news, positive, it's all very welcome here. The number's the same, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. You can give us a call on 07491 25,000. Of course, Caroline's taking your calls today. If you want to watch the show, you can do that too on our website, highlandradio.com. Click watch live or go straight to YouTube. It's Highland Radio Ireland there, or across our Facebook pages. Good morning to Michael, a regular viewer, saying good morning already. Good to have you on board, Michael. And if you want to email the show, you know what to do. Comments at highlandradio.com. And then, of course, there's Twitter, and we could go through all of that as well. Even on TikTok. Not much of me on TikTok now, in fairness. But anyway, we're there. Right, okay, 6 minutes past 9. Let's look at the papers this morning. It is a Thursday, so it's a busy morning. The Donegal Democrat this morning, I hope the guilt eats him alive. Two Donegal sisters have told of the horrific trauma they suffered at the hands of their abusive father, who was jailed yesterday for 8.5 years after subjecting his daughters to a campaign of sexual abuse. The man was convicted by a jury at Letterkenny Circuit Court following a 3-day trial on 31 counts of sexual assault, child cruelty and sexual exploitation. Most of the offences arose out of playing a truth or dare game. The catalogue of offences were described by Judge John Aimler as very depraved abuse. One of the daughters said she hopes the guilt eats her father alive, and I can understand that sentiment. We have very little to do as adults that's important. You know, we think so much is important, don't we? Money, of course, it's important. Property, ownership, all that is. But is there anything more important that we do than protect children, look after our children, make sure they're safe? And normally we're there to do that, to protect them from others, you know, from the horrible things that are out there in the world. And for these two very brave sisters, for that trust, for that care, to be not there from their own father, it's horrific. The girls were aged 13 and 14 at the time of the abuse when it began. The man cannot be named to protect their identity, which is very understandable. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning. In December 2003, when Malcolm Thompson of Convoy was elected as the national leader of the ICSA, the Irish Cattle and Sheep Farmers Association, he said we must make up our minds to put our very best into our organisation and make it a real force to be reckoned with in Irish farm politics. As a straight-talking figure in the farm lobby, Mr Thompson says there's a need for a totally different approach because farm feeds, fertilisers and fuel are way too expensive, and those issues are relative to Donegal, must see us lobbying directly in Brussels because there's very little clout in Dublin. And long-form interview with Mr Thompson in the paper today. On to the Donegal News. A new senior manager is to be appointed to help address governance issues at Letterkenny University Hospital. The move follows a series of workshops facilitated by consultancy firm Ernst & Young earlier this year, held between Celta management and hospital staff. They were held in response to a damning report by the Health Information and Quality Authority, which found weaknesses in oversight arrangements and governance structures at the hospital. Following the workshop, an action plan was drawn up which the new senior manager will have responsibility for delivering on. The Donegal News says it can confirm that recruitment is underway and the post is expected to be filled before Christmas. And you know that one's going to be filled quick because there will be a ton of money chucked at that one. Getting nurses up here, not so easy, probably mostly because of the pay, but you can be sure they'll be lining up to take on a new senior manager role. I don't know what the implications are for the general manager's role there. I don't know how they work alongside each other or what the story is. But anyway, we'll see if that makes a difference. But as I say, there'll be a lot of money spent on that, I'm sure. The Derry News this morning, a campaign has been launched calling for the reopening of two key railways that served Derry City until they were closed in the 1950s and 60s. Local group Into the West campaigns for the improvement and expansion of rural rail access across counties Derry, Donegal, Tyrone and Fermanagh. The organisation was founded in 2004 when they successfully defeated a proposal by civil servants to shut the Derry-Belfast rail line west of Ballymena. Since then, they've also secured a major track upgrade of the Derry-Coleraine line and a new transport hub at Derry's historic Duke Street station. On to the nationals now, and the Association of Catholic Priests in Ireland has urged the Bishop of Kerry to sanction Father Sean Sheehy by banning him from celebrating Mass and other sacraments over his controversial comments on same-sex couples and transgender people. County Cork Parish Priest Father Tim Hazelwood told the Irish Independent that the majority of priests are absolutely appalled by what Father Sheehy said in his homily last week and in Listowel, as well as his subsequent comments about politicians going to hell. He puts himself in the position of God to make judgment, Father Hazelwood said, as he lamented the 80-year-old priest's lack of contrition for the hurt he had caused. The lack of any bit of remorse on his part shows he's going to do more damage to the church. His remarks forced Bishop Ray Brown of Kerry to issue a public apology for the upset they had caused. In a statement on behalf of his diocese, Dr. Brown said he was aware of the deep upset in Hearst caused by the contents of the homilies in question delivered over the weekend. So what do you think about that? I'm sure it was up for discussion on the programme yesterday, or some of you would have texted in. I mean, the bottom line is that what he said is hugely offensive to an awful lot of people. But he has said what is the stance of the Catholic Church, and that is a fact. So those who are saying you shouldn't say that, like other priests or bishops, they are part of the church that believes it. It's just that priest said it out loud. What are your views? 086 60 25,000. I believe you might be joining us a little later on in the programme as well, just to talk a little bit more about that. But as I say, it's not a secret, because what he says is what the church believes. That's my reading of it anyway. The Irish Times this morning, Fianna Fáil has hit back at its former TD Mark McSharry over criticism he made in a resignation statement published yesterday. The Sligo Leitrim TD, he also has a little bit of South Donegal, but the Nationals don't really care much about that. Sligo Leitrim TD Mr McSharry resigned as a member of Fianna Fáil over what he claimed was the flawed handling of a complaint made against him by a councillor. Mr McSharry said there had been a failure to properly investigate the complaint, which he said related to robust language used in discussions about Sligo University Hospital between him and a party councillor, other councillors. So they were back and forwards on WhatsApp. He probably said something like what the you-know-what and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, he's gone. The government majority is down to one. I'm not sure. Does that include Deputy Joe McHugh? Is he back in or out? I can't remember. They're in and out like, well, I can't say what some people might say, but they're in and out an awful lot. So I don't know what the story is. We'll ask John McAteer. He's going to be joining us in a bit for a bit of an analysis on that. All right, you have to lock up your turkeys, your hens and your ducks. On Monday, they are going into lockdown, unfortunately. Poultry farmers have been ordered to keep their flocks indoors due to a rise in bird flu cases. The confinement order from Agriculture Minister Charlie McConnell-Logue, which will take effect from Monday next, November 7th, was made under the Animal Health and Welfare Act 2013. It comes as the latest case of avian influenza known as bird flu was detected in a dead swan in County Cavan on Tuesday. But no need to worry, you will still have your birds for Christmas. That being said, they are going up in price, not surprising. Can you believe it's Christmas, by the way? Is it Christmas? Do you feel Christmassy? Are you allowing yourself to? It is only the 3rd of November, but do you feel Christmassy? Let us know why. It's a nice time of the year, isn't it? For most people, it's a difficult time for others. But we try and look to the positives, and maybe some people get into the mood very, very early. Are you one of those? But Christmas dinner will be an expensive affair this year. The price of a turkey and ham, it's going up 40% in the past 12 months. It's gone up. As rising energy bills continue to hit businesses and the cost of animal feed forces farmers to raise their prices, butchers across the country have said they will have no choice but to charge more for their meat this festive season. The cost of living crisis has left many businesses concerned that customers will cut down on their spending this Christmas. And that's what happens in a shrinking economy like this. Even those that perhaps don't need to cut back as much as others might will find themselves doing so, probably already doing so. The Irish Daily Star today, This is another horrific story, one where you have to sort of bite your tongue somewhat when you're on the radio. But a man who spied on unclothed children in a leisure centre and told the father of a victim that you'll never effing catch me has been jailed for 15 months. 15 months. I'm not sure I can comment on sentences. I'd have to check the guidelines once again. Louis Nugent used a vile scheme of mirrors and mobile phones to film young girls getting changed in the cubicles at the Ora Leisure Centre in Letterkenny, County Donegal. Now, I don't know. This is a person that was... He's robbed their innocence by viewing them. And what has happened to those images? Judge John Aylmer said the offences warranted placing Nugent on the state's register of sex offenders. The father of 8, who's 67, appeared at Letterkenny Circuit Court after being caught by a horrified father of 2 young girls. The former carpenter and taxi driver was caught carrying out the lewd acts on a number of occasions. His seedy operation only came to light when 2 young girls, just 12 and 14, refused to go to swimming lessons at the Ora Leisure Centre in Letterkenny after they become victims of the pervert. Detective Garda Stephen Moyle said the sisters were in a changing cubicle on November 15th, 2017, when the younger girl noticed a mobile phone appear beneath the partition with the adjacent cubicle. 15 months is his sentence. I'm not sure how much of that he might have to serve, but anyway. If you watch kind of closely, there's something going on in North Korea, South Korea. It's very similar. The language, the operation, what's going on, is very similar to the precursor to what's happened in the east of Europe between Russia and Ukraine. You've got South Korea and the United States conducting extensive war games, if you wish to call them that, very close to North Korea. And you've got North Korea now testing rockets, and you've got North Korea saying that, look, back off, or, something will be done about it. It's all very familiar as to what kind of happened in the lead up to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But they're allies, Russia and North Korea. Global outcast North Korea is smuggling ammo to Russia to help with Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The US says the country's leader, Kim Jong-un, is secretly shipping a significant number of artillery shells, but insisted they are not enough to halt the series of Russian retreats. It is the latest sign the invaders are running low on weapons, and it follows Ukrainian claims Russia ordered some 1,400 Iranian drones. North Korea tried to pretend the weapons were banned for buyers in the Middle East and North Africa, US National Security spokesperson John Kirby said. But as I say, watch with interest, because it seems a very similar situation that's happening in that part of the world that's happening east of us right now. And finally, are you with Ulster Bank, KBC Bank? Have you switched yet? Many of you haven't. Ireland's central bank governor could take measures to delay the withdrawal of 2 banks from the Irish markets as customers struggle to find new providers. Gabriel McClough has admitted some people's experience of trying to switch leaves something to be desired. He said people are just finding the whole thing a bit of a hassle. It's just difficult to talk to people, he told reporters at a financial sector conference held in Dublin. And that is so true. It's incredibly easy if you are reasonable with the internet. It's easy to open a bank account in this country, and it's easy to transfer stuff if you can do it technically. But there is people, and I know people, and this is not an age thing either, by the way, this is right across the age cohorts, that want to go in to a branch and talk to someone and be assured of this, that and the other. That's the problem. That's what people are struggling with, to get an appointment to speak to another lending institution so they have confidence in the whole moving process. All right. Anything you wish to talk about? As I mentioned, WhatsApp or text 08660 25000. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after we take this break.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Imagine a better way to manage your energy with a smart plan from Bord Gosh Energy. Our smart plans, like Free Time Saturday or Free Time Sunday, can help you lower your bills and reduce your energy usage. Find a smart plan that works for you and your home at boardgoshenergy.ie/smart. Free energy units are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday or Sunday each week with this tariff. Customers can choose Saturday or Sunday. Smart meter required. Terms and conditions apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie.
Do you know how digital skills can benefit you as an employee?
Skills to Advance has an exciting new digital skills program to build your digital confidence at work and help you progress in your career.
For more information on how to access this highly subsidised flexible training, contact your local Education and Training Board or visit skillstoadvance.ie.
Skills to Advance. Boost skills, boost business.
Brought to you by Solus and the ETBs, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Mid-season sale now on. Men's casual and footwear reduced. Sale now on. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com.
With everyone looking to shrink their bill these days, Dunnes Stores gives you new ways to save on your shop with double savers. First, you'll save in the aisles when you fill your basket with fantastic low prices across thousands of great products. Then you'll save again at the till with our 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Shrink your bill with double savers, new from Dunnes Stores. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Hi, it's Owen. I can't answer the phone right now. I'm currently enjoying the advanced comfort seats and suspension with progressive hydraulic cushions in my new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV. I'm really enjoying the drive, so please don't leave a message.
With Citroen's advanced comfort technology, you may end up travelling further than you planned. Experience Citroen Comfort, a 5-year warranty and flexible payment options across the range. For more, see citroen.ie.
Citroën. The new Citroen C5 Aircross is now available at your local dealer, Highland Motors, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Good morning. Would you please give the Christmas toy appeal a mention on your show? It's for disadvantaged children here in Donegal. It's a very good cause and a great opportunity for the people to give new toys only. Contact Ewan Devaney Ballawafay. We have a number for him here. Thank you very much. No problem, Ewan. I hope you get a good reaction to that. An emailer says the government does not care about the 15% of total energy that the huge data centres currently use, with the resulting huge pollution, and that 15% will double within the next decade, burning traditional turf so as not to focus on the data centres. Well, you see, I mean, if we're going to talk about data centres, we have to talk about it. In all of its sense. Firstly, we're not going to go into recession. Seemingly, we're going to be in recession, us the regular people, but the country not in recession. And there's billions upon billions of extra tax being paid because we host these data centres. That's the bottom line. That's why we have the companies here that are paying the big tax. Second to that as well, you know, our electricity infrastructure has not grown the way it should. We shouldn't be worried about 15% of energy going to data centres if proper investment had been made in our electricity infrastructure. If you go back, and I read a lot of this stuff for right or wrong, there were recommendations made by I can't remember, the people that look after energy anyway, and they're saying our needs in such and such a year are going to be this, we need to build capacity. Our year in such and such a year will be that. That capacity was never added to. It just simply was never added to. We relied too much perhaps on wind, which is seasonal, depending on the weather, quite literally. And we never we're only now importing bigger batteries and all that kind of stuff now to try and deal with the problems. But the warnings were there; they just weren't listened to. It's the same in the health service. Our health service didn't turn bad in the last 6 months. It's a poor investment over the years. It's the same with water. The reason there's rusty pipes in Inishowen and burst pipes all over the place is because for years money wasn't spent on water infrastructure. Successive governments didn't either follow advice or spend money in certain places, and that's where we're at now. It didn't happen in the last 3 weeks. I'd like you to get an update regarding the new school at Scoil Isigon, Buncrana. I attended the school 45 years ago, and many of the classrooms haven't changed since then. My children also attended this school, one who's in his final year at university. When he started this primary school, a new school building was being discussed. Water cabins were delivered there. What's happening with the new school? Can the principal or board of management give an update? Thanks. Well, we'll reach out and see if we can get some information on that for you. Another, just want to mention this article as well. Parents are being banned, by the way. This is another story in the paper that I meant to read a little earlier on. Parents are being banned from cheering their kids at FA youth soccer matches this weekend to shield the youngsters from abuse. English football's rulers have been accused of going woke. hate that phrase, but anyway, by calling for only polite applause from the touchline at games. It follows the unveiling at the first National Silent Sport Weekend, which organisers hope will reduce pressure on players and referees. So what do you think about that? Is it woke for them to try and sort of say, right, instead of shouting, ref, or F this, or go up there, instead you applaud them when they do well? Do you think that is woke or a good idea? It's not that being woke is bad, but 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. Now, TD Mark McSharry has confirmed he is leaving the Fianna Fáil party. The Sligo Leitrim South Donegal deputy has told the Irish Independent it's because of Micheál Martin's handling of a bullying complaint made against him by a party councillor. Deputy McSharry claims the complaint is highly politically motivated. Now, John McAteer joins us to tease this out. Good morning to you, John. How are you keeping? Good to see you.
And you too, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Right, okay. This, I suppose, on the face of it, could seem like a storm in a teacup, but it could also have sort of far-reaching implications, and maybe could even be a conversation about Micheál Martin's leadership of that party. What's your read of it?
I think that's about just exactly where I would put it, because Sligo is very McSharry orientated in Fianna Fáil, and moves are already afoot to have him reinstated, not just any old time, but almost immediately. That is ongoing since last night, from what I understand from sources in Sligo. A storm in a teacup is one way of describing it. It's probably unfortunate that these kinds of text messages or WhatsApp or whatever they are can get out there in such a fashion and taking up all the headlines in the papers, and you don't blame the papers for doing that. But Mark McSharry has been at the sharp edge of Fianna Fáil. That's gone on probably, Greg, since the formation of the new cabinet in June 2020 when he was left out. He would have felt sure about that, but he would have felt much worse then when he was left out of the 17 junior ministries. Given the fact that he was surrounded by junior ministries in that part of the country, he had like Van Rabbit in Galway, he had Robert Troy, remember him, in Lockwood Westmeath. Dara Kildare, his next door neighbour in Mayo, became the chief whip. He became the super minister and sitting at cabinet, minister for the Gaeltacht. Charlie McConnell was also on that panel, as was his own colleague in Sligo, Frank Feehan of Fine Gael, and thereby hangs a thread, because there's always a huge contest there for that final seat in Sligo, and Fine Gael doesn't actually have a quota there. Fianna Fáil would be okay with their quota until this issue came up, because if Ray McSharry stays on the outside of the party, it may well become a split that may be irreconcilable, in that McSharry has a strong enough vote, close to 7,000. It's a good vote. Eamon Scanlon would be his Fianna Fáil colleague there. You have Martin Kenny, of course, with a quota and several thousand to spare, and they'll be looking at a second seat. He's down in South Leitrim, so Sligo would definitely be a base for a Sinn Féin councillor. And of course, Marion Harkin's position, another strong vote getter. She got that second seat. Martin Kenny and herself were the only two to actually reach the quota there. And it came down to the 15th and final count before McSharry got elected, along with Feehan on that count without reaching a quota. So he has 11.5% of the vote. That's a very substantial vote. It's enough to get a seat, because anywhere around 50%, it's a four-seater. The quota will be about 20%, which will be about 12,000. It's a big constituency, 97, 98,000 people in it. Now, we're presuming that all of this is going to remain as is, given that the Boundary Commission has to report on all the constituencies sometime later on. But it's one of those rows that Fianna Fáil definitely did not want and could not afford to have.
Is it really? Because I think I remember commenting at the time when Mark McSharry was threatening to leave the party or whatever. I mean, he was a thorn in Micheál Martin's side, wasn't he? And this is kind of a good. I mean, especially now when numbers don't really matter as much. Micheál Martin is stepping aside, Leo Varadkar taking over. I mean, how important is the majority in the Dáil Fianna Fáil at this time, given what might be to come? And, sometimes people wait for you in the long grass, and maybe that's exactly what's happened to Mark McSharry. Never waste a crisis or an F in a text.
Their majority is wafer thin as it is. They're depending on 5 or 6 independents who are not aligned to any party whip, and they can't actually depend on them in a tight vote on a particularly populist issue that may arise. But I remember us discussing this here about the year last September time when he resigned from the parliamentary party, if you remember, and that was over the Zappone affair, the Marion issue, and he refused to vote confidence in the. It was Simon Coveney was the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and in his resignation letter he said that Fianna Fáil was being run, and I'm quoting this, in a fashion consistent with an undemocratic totalitarian regime. Now, if that was his view then, remember I was saying on the show that day, in those circumstances, I couldn't see him back in Fianna Fáil as long as Neil Martin was leader. Sometimes you sort of misjudge these things because he was on the verge of being brought back, and the ball was set rolling. Neil Martin had indicated his intentions to bring it in. It was Barry Cowan and one of the other Fianna Fáil TDs, senior TDs, that mooted the appointment. And apparently one of those who opposed it, from what we read in The Independent, was Charlie McConalogue. And all of a sudden, the return was put on ice. Neil Martin said there were issues there and he wasn't going to comment on those. So those issues have now appeared in public. They don't make for very good reading in the papers. And I mean, you just wonder, does Fianna Fáil need to do a crash course in how to send text messages and stay within the bounds of reality?
I think a lot of people could do with that crash course. I never understand why people post stuff in group chat rooms, just especially people that should know much, much better. But now you have already, as you say, very quickly, people's trying to plot his return to the party. Is there a bit of a civil war then being exposed within the senior ranks of Fianna Fáil, or is that going too far?
No, it's not going too far because party politics at ground level, they're more animated now in Sligo than they've been probably in 25, 30 years. And when you get a split within a party on an issue, especially involving somebody like Mark McSharry, who's a traditional name of the McSharrys, goes back for 50 years. I mean, his father at 84 years of age is still a figurehead in Sligo. And Mark McSharry would have had ambitions to be a member of that cabinet in 2020, and that wasn't to be. Obviously, because of the makeup of the government, things were going to be very, very tight there. And at least McSharry would have had the anticipation of getting one of the 17 junior ministries, but he wasn't even offered one. I mean, Joe McHugh could afford to refuse one, and so could Jim O'Callaghan. So McSharry was out in the cold. It was obvious that there was tensions between him and Martin, yet back at base in Sligo, probably it's this issue, McSharry, and we'll have to ask the question, is the name of McSharry bigger than Fianna Fáil in Sligo? Or is Fianna Fáil going to rule the roost there? Now, Neil Martin is going to be challenged on this very, very strongly by the hierarchy in Sligo. It's one that he may not want to lose. It's one that he has to win. But he's going to try and stand aside from this as party leader. I mean, he's into his final furlongs on the role as Taoiseach around the middle of December. So he won't want this coming down the line. And he'll also want to have this resolved before he does leave, because if he doesn't get it resolved, they could lose a seat in Sligo. And I mean, it's all about winning seats. And Fianna Fáil's, just the Red Sea poll there on Sunday puts Fianna Fáil at 16%. They're 16% below where they were at the 2020 general election. They can't afford any slippage, and they can't afford these kind of rows to get out in the public. But it's out there now, so how do they get the Jenny back in the bottle again? Pretty hard to see that one, because Sinn Féin is going to be bidding for a second seat there. We don't know what Marion Harkin might do. Will she run again? Presumably she will. She's a good vote getter. She has a good base in Sligo town. Fihan is a junior minister. And, you know, this latest route developed over a big issue that we were promoting here, Greg, if you remember, the cardiac cath lab for Letterkenny. And this route actually developed the following day, and that Mark McSharry claimed that he had met with the Taoiseach and the Minister for Health to get the cath lab up and running in Sligo. And then there was Fihan coming along and saying that he had done the same, and that there was going to be staffing for 4 extra ICU beds. Now, the Taoiseach denied that any meetings took place, and so it has been left on the melting pot ever since. And it came down the tracks to that parliamentary party meeting, this big rush to get Bertie Ahern and McSharry back on board and all this kind of thing, and that was going to be part of Michael Martin's legend. Now that legend is quite well tarnished, and there may be no easy way back for that, and the party in Sligo could split two ways. If they do split two ways, I would bet on McSherry taking that seat as an independent.
Mm.
And that might be the only way that he might get back into the party in the aftermath of Michael Martin. That is a possibility. I wouldn't rule that one out.
Listen, stay with us here because on this issue, and it is with Fianna Fáil, staying with Fianna Fáil. As you know, former Taoiseach Mary Coughlin has been elected chair of the Donegal executive of the Fianna Fáil party. She's going to be charged, presumably, she would see her role, she outlined it as looking towards the local elections, looking towards the general election, identifying candidates, seeing, where the party needs to go here. She admits that they've lost a bit of ground and maybe even a bit of direction, and that needs to be found once again. She's not ruling herself out of contesting the next general election. One very easily you could say, no, I've had my time with elected politics, but now my focus here is on the party and getting other people elected. But then she sort of said it's not up to me or her, it's up to the Fianna Fáil. Up to the Fianna Fáil party members. So what's going on here? What is going on, do you think, strategically in Donegal as it relates to Fianna Fáil? Do they think Charlie McConalogue might not go again? Do they think that he needs a strong running partner? Do they think that maybe Mary Coughlin might be the person to retain if there's only one seat in Donegal? It might be Mary Coughlin. What's going on, do you think?
Well, Charlie McConalogue might be the only one that mightn't want her on a running ticket with him, because Mary Coughlin is a well-known figure in Donegal politics. She has a huge swathe of the constituency to herself there. My bet is that coming in as the chairperson of the Dáil Cantor is opening the door to possibilities, and that she will be persuaded. She mightn't be that easily persuaded, but then again, after 11 years, or 12 years as it's going to be, maybe 13, she might just think to herself, why don't I throw my hat in the ring here?
Well, you see, John, but when I suggested that what you're saying could be the case, people were saying to me, that is crazy. But there's a few things that are reality. Yeah. If she's contesting an election, she'd be contesting it to go into opposition really effectively, so you can say anything. She's also not going to be quite as tarnished by the last couple of terms in government. Whether people believe that or not, she's not going to have the same. There'll be some distance between her and people's anger towards Fianna Fáil. And on the big issue, like something like Micah, and this might be difficult for people to hear, but if you go in towards the west of Donegal and into the south of Donegal, even within the one county that's worst affected by Micah in the country, it's not the top issue on people's agenda. It is down maybe one or two behind health and other things. And I know some people won't believe that, but I genuinely believe, for right or wrong, that is the case. So, I mean, that leaves her in a pretty strong position, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And remember, Mary Coughlin was one of the stronger ministers in the Fianna Fáil party, vastly experienced, quite skilled, and she could call the shots. Minister for Agriculture. She was very, very much loved by the people of Donegal. And it was just unfortunate the way the vote bounced against her in 2011. Getting back in there again, well, I mean, why would she get into a role of that kind? Just as the chair of the Dáil Cantor, which hasn't a huge input anyway. If that's not a step back into the political spotlight, I don't know what is. Mary Coughlin would be a fair bet to get a seat. Now, Charlie McConalogue might pay a price for that. Can Fianna Fáil take 2 seats out of 5 in Donegal? Again, we're presuming that Donegal is going to remain a 5-seater. She remains fairly untarnished by Micah and all of those issues. She's remained very, very quiet. And if Fianna Fáil was looking for a candidate that might give them some traction forward, Mary Coughlin would obviously be a choice. And while she may be denying all that kind of thing, she would have to sort of justify, well, why go back in at that level? Why don't we leave it to newer, younger people? Because we want the party to grow from the ground up. I think after 11 years out, she probably could be ready to come back in there, and she might be much easier persuaded than you or I might think. And in a part of Donegal where she could stop Sinn Féin taking a 3rd seat. She certainly could do that there, because it's a huge area of the county without a Fianna Fáil representative there.
Especially very south in
very
the county
south, yeah.
Even further south than Thomas Pringle, with a party machine behind her. You know, Donegal Town, Pettigo, Killybegs, Dunlow, Ballybofey.
Right up onto Funtown.
So I mean...
Mary Coughlin always had a huge traction. Remember the Coughlin family we were talking about, the McSherry name in Sligo. The Coughlin family in Donegal Southwest would be equally as big as that there. Mary Coughlin would be seen as somebody who has delivered for the county. Back in the day, albeit, would she get a big enough vote? Could Charlie McConnell-Logue be a casualty there? Or could Fianna Fáil hope to take 2? That all remains to be seen. I would have my doubts about all that there. But she definitely would probably be a fairly strong name and a strong voice. And the great thing about Mary Coughlin, she has that recognition appeal with the electorate. Few people haven't met Mary Coughlin. She's a very down-to-earth speaker. She knows everybody in the constituency, and that hasn't gone away. So for her to step in at this particular time, the party is reorganising itself. They're trying to get those opinion polls somewhere up into where they were at the last general election. That's 22%, and that's not going to get them too far.
Because you can just see the conversation. I've been in politics a long time. I've been out of politics for a while, a public face of politics. I can see what this government has done well, but I can also recognise from the outside looking on what we did wrong. And if elected, I'll make sure that, and blah, blah, and so on and so forth. Like the campaign in itself is very easy written. So
is that the way Fianna Fáil wants to go, or is Pat the Cope no longer interested in running again? That's another
some would
issue.
say he's never stopped. He's never stopped his role as an elected rep, other than
no, he hasn't. I mean, surprisingly enough, he hasn't done that. But I mean, there's a whole lot of new circumstances been thrown up there with the potential that Mary Coughlin has come back in at that level, because had she not been interested in having a run for a Dáil seat, why even bother getting involved at all again?
Or why not rule yourself out? The easiest thing would be to say, I'm here to work locally, to do this, that and the other. I've no interest. Other than that, she said she's not ruling in or out, and it'll be up to the party membership, which I thought was really quite an interesting comment. It'll be up to the party members.
I think it's what she didn't say that matters, and she didn't rule herself out. And I presume that we'll hear more from that later on down the road, because Fianna Fáil are going to be searching long and hard for another candidate in the south of the county.
I think they found it, John. I think they found the other candidate. I mean,
well, I think they do as well, but maybe Mary Coughlin might say in the middle of all this, to hell with it. I've done my share.
Right, come here. Listen, it's just always fascinating, and I think this is going to be a particularly, whenever we get round to it, it's going to be a fantastic or fascinating election, and hopefully, John, you'll be right there giving us your views. People love listening to you, as do I. Thanks for your time, John.
Thank you, Greg.
Take care of yourself, okay? John McAteer there of the Tyrconnell Tribune.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
Suckler farmers could be paid to destock. In this week's Farmers Journal, we reveal how farmers could be paid to cut cow numbers, pressure bills to get farmers into acres scheme, front-loaded fodder scheme payments to begin next month. Find out if your land is zoned under the new land tax. We reveal the top 5 issues in cross-compliance inspections. Plus, find out how you can get a free pair of Dunlop wellies worth €85 inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Quilcha cares for Ireland's forests sustainably. As our country seeks to combat climate change, we'll do more. Our ambition is to create new forests, manage our existing forests for greater carbon capture, and provide more habitats to enhance biodiversity. We'll support creating new homes by delivering sustainable Irish wood products. And we'll increase the number of beautiful forest recreation spaces for everyone to enjoy. Quilcha, forests for climate, nature, wood and people. For a greener future for all.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents Mac Fleetwood, Europe's premier tribute to Fleetwood Mac, live at Ungrainen Theatre Letterkenny on Saturday the 14th of January. Hear the classic Fleetwood Mac songs that you know and love. Tickets available from Ungrainen Theatre box office and ungrainen.com.
Never queue again with Scan and Shop on the M&S app. Simply use your phone to scan and bag items as you go, then pay for your food shop directly from the app. Easy. Download the M&S app today. See marksandspencer.ie for details.
Keep your ears peeled to Highland Radio. We're giving away... Sorry, we're not telling you yet. Yes, you heard right. It's a secret, but stay tuned to the 9 to Noon show for more details.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Right, we're going to be talking about the news that poultry flock owners have been issued with an order to house their birds from Monday the 7th of November onwards due to a rising number of bird flu cases in wild birds. Nigel Sweetnam is chair of the IFA's National Poultry Committee, and he joins us now. Nigel, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Right, okay. This needs a big buy-in, isn't it? This could get very, very serious very quickly for farmers working in this field.
Yeah, well, the move is precautionary. We're always on high alert, and in the south here, since July, we've been dealing with bird flu offshore here in a large percentage of the Wilmots and Gannets offshore have been washed up dead on shore. So the fact that it's arrived in Cavan is very worrying. So it's to prevent the spread and keep the birds safe is the number one priority here, and keep farmers in business.
Yeah, and I suppose the logic is that, you know, if this is in wild birds flying around the place, it wouldn't be hard then to pass on to farmed birds, and that's why the advice is to keep them in.
That's exactly, and this only applies to free-range birds because they're the ones that are outdoors and liable to mix with wild birds. Domesticated birds are 80% of them are indoors all the time anyway. So, but it's just highlighting. We've been calling for this lockdown before it arrived because we felt that it was just an unnecessary risk letting birds out. 90% of infections occur with direct contact with between wild and domestic birds. So if you limit the birds from going outside, you've strengthened the odds in favour of the industry.
And if a bird catches bird flu, I mean, this is huge consequences, especially building up to the Christmas where so much money and effort's already been put in. It is a wipeout for the whole flock, effectively, is it?
Or it's a wipeout for the whole flock, for the farmer and for the supermarket that is not left with no turkeys. But it's more importantly, it's the welfare of the birds as well.
Yeah, okay. And
I suppose it all comes back to food security, and while we all pay great lip service to food security, this is just a reminder that the threat is real there, and that we need to be more mindful of where our food is coming from and support, be it the consumer or the government. Everyone needs to support local food.
I think we import about 250,000 turkeys per Christmas.
Yeah, mainly turkey crowns.
Right.
The bulk of the whole bird is produced and retailed in Ireland.
All right, okay. And the message then is it to farmers to abide by this? It's in their best interest.
The same as it's always been, is top security. There's no room for complacency. The department vet gave a very good explanation on 6-1 News last night, when she said it's all about hygiene and making sure that you don't inadvertently bring the disease into your house. You know, it's in the bird's excrement, and the danger of walking that into the house. Someone goes into a house without changing their shoes, which should never ever happen. There's dedicated footwear and clothing for each individual poultry house.
All right, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. That was Nigel Sweetnam there, the chair of the IFA National Poultry Committee. We're also going to be joined very shortly by Cathal Mooney, owner of Heather Hill Farm. But first, I just want to welcome onto the programme Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConalogue. Good morning to you, Minister McConalogue. How are you keeping?
Good, thanks. Good morning, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Right, this is precautionary, really, isn't it, at this point? I don't think or people necessarily shouldn't have to be worried about a shortage of the likes of turkey this Christmas.
Yeah, no, it's very much precautionary, and we've been monitoring the situation closely over the last number of weeks and short few months. And the number of cases in the wild bird population has been increasing. We're up to about 60 identified cases, and most of them have been along the east coast, Greg, of the country, reflecting the migratory pattern of birds as they head towards the European continent. In the last week, we had an instance, though, of a wild swan in Cavan, which was a heightening concern. And also over the last period of time, we've seen a number of outbreaks in commercial flocks in Britain as well, and there's been a number in the continent already. So we're moving now much earlier than we ever have in the past to do that housing order from next Monday. And it is a precautionary measure to try and put the maximum protections we can in place for poultry flocks to make sure that that real risk that there is there of wild bird population infecting the commercial bird flock, which is what happened in a number of instances last year, that we try to prevent that. And I know you've had a number of contributors on there, and I just hear at the end of Nigel Sweetman from the IFA poultry rep in relation to the importance of biosecurity measures, which have been in place. But hopefully, by taking this approach, though there's no guarantees, we can ensure that the flocks remain free. There's very strong protocols in place in instances where we do have cases and outbreaks then in relation to culls and in relation to protection zones around those. But that's the type of situation we want to avoid. Obviously, coming up Christmas, the turkey season is particularly important for families across the country, particularly important for the farmers that produce them as well in relation to their annual income. So every effort will be made now to actually work together to try and ensure that there isn't an impact on flocks.
And the threat is an increasing threat, isn't it, year on year? Is there anything else we could or should be doing to try and sort of ease the threat from year to year? Or is it always going to be, as long as the flu continues to spread amongst birds, it's going to be like this for the foreseeable future?
Certainly in the short term, that would appear to be the case. It's a challenge we've been dealing with now for the last number of years. We had some instances last year of it in flocks nationally, which we resulted in culls of the affected flocks and then protected zones around those flocks as well. They had real big difficulties and challenges on the European continent in particular around bird flu. And again, already this autumn, there's significant challenges in a number of European countries. So, but I know there's significant research and science going on in relation to what options and opportunities we could have to try and address this, but it does transfer from the wild bird population to the commercial flock, and it has been posed a real significant challenge and a real economic challenge as well to poultry farming over the last while. But the best approach at the moment is good biosecurity measures at farm level, and then moving, such as we are now, to put in place housing orders whenever the risk gets to a certain level too.
Okay. Thanks for your time this morning. That was Minister for Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConnell. Now, Cathal Mooney is owner of Heather Hill Farm. He joins us in the programme now. Cathal, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
You raise turkeys in the summer. So effectively, is your work done? Your turkeys raised, they've been slaughtered, and they're frozen ready for the Christmas market?
That's right, yes. So at Heather Hill Farm, I suppose we're what we call a regenerative farm, but we work very much with nature. And so I think Ireland in the wintertime isn't a very suitable climate for a turkey. I mean, they're not in the wild here. So I thought Ireland in the summertime is actually a pretty nice environment for a turkey. It's warm, there's loads of grass. Turkeys will forage quite a bit of their diet off the ground and bugs and grasses, and we grow good grass in the summertime. So I started to produce my turkeys in the summertime. We harvest them in September and then we freeze them, and it makes my life a lot easier because I'm not trudging out in the wintertime trying to look after my turkeys.
So are our farming practices then leaving turkeys more open to the likes of bird flu? In other words, you know, I think you've already referenced it there, dark, cold, wet, muddy. Really, we're making rods for our own backs then with the way we're doing this at the moment.
Correct, yeah. Bird flu is mainly, it's like COVID. Bird flu can't move itself. It has to be moved, and it's mainly with migratory birds that bring it. So in the autumn and the spring, the migratory birds coming past bring that risk. So that's why I've moved my window to the summertime, because the risk in that period is much lower.
So in terms of quality, then people might go, well, that's all well and good, but I'll get my fresh turkey and it'll be nicer than Cahill's frozen turkey.
I
don't really like turkey, by the way, that much. So
yeah, well,
I don't really.
I
like it at
available
Christmas. I like it at Christmas time, but you know what I mean? I'm not rushing out in June for turkey. Don't get me wrong. But just talk to that point about frozen then versus fresh in inverted commas. I suppose once it's defrosted, it's fresh. But anyway, what's your view?
Yeah, I suppose I grew up. I was born in the early 90s, and we came through that whole processed frozen food revolution. So we have this preconception of frozen food really not being that good still within us. But freezing food is one of the best way for preserving food right now we have. And I truly believe in the farm here. Our philosophy is if you meet the psychological and physical needs of an animal or a plant, by default, you will get a happy and healthy animal or plant. So these turkeys are happy. They've basically one bad day in their life, and that's their last day. And so it's top quality, happy, healthy produce. And by freezing that down instantly, you're locking in all that goodness. Versus a fresh turkey who's, they're all being housed right now. So they're going to be pretty miserable, in my opinion. If I was a turkey, I wouldn't like to be housed with, umpteen other turkeys from now to Christmas. So if I was given the choice, I know which one I'd go for, but everybody's different.
Is it cheaper to produce turkeys in the summer than it would be in the winter?
Yes, because obviously there's warmer temperatures, so less energy is going to go into maintaining the bird itself. So there's an economical gain there, and also there's a waste factor isn't factored in there, because if I'm producing fresh turkeys for the Christmas market, I don't know exactly how many birds I'm going to process and how many of them, going through the butchering process might damage some birds, whereas I know exactly how many animals I have in the freezer right now. And I can sell every one of them to the last one. And I can tell my customers exactly what weight their turkey is going to be as well.
It is interesting because it's just a date, really. Obviously there's religious significance to it. But if Christmas happened to be on the 29th of August, we simply would not be having this conversation. The amount of 1.5 million turkeys are reared in Ireland annually, and it's all, well, not all, but primarily for Christmas. It's to target this date, to have this notion that 3 days ago your turkey was alive and well, and now it's going to be Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving is a good example, because we've got Thanksgiving in the States, and turkeys grow wild in the States. So, November, end of a good long summer, turkeys are plump, and, it makes sense to put that animal on the table. Maybe venison or something would be one of our last wild animals here in Ireland, would be something we should be looking at now.
All right. Why do you sell your turkeys and
we sell
birds?
We sell everything direct from the farm. We're passionate about producing local, top quality food. So the only way to get our produce is come and talk to us. So check out our website, heatherhillfarm.ie, or we've got a Facebook page, and we've also got a YouTube channel. We're very transparent in what we do, so we've got a YouTube channel where we show all the goings on the farm.
All right, it's interesting, and a lot of it makes sense. All right, thanks for that, Cahill.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, take care of yourself. Cahill Mooney, owner of Heather Hill Farm. An interesting take on the whole conversation. Right, stay with us. Back after the news and obituary notices.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Stateside American restaurant, serving you freshly cooked food in a family-friendly, fun environment. We've got steaks, burgers, wings, kids menu, vegan options, full bar, and so much more. There's something for everyone. Rediscover the real taste of America at Stateside American Restaurant Letterkenny, part of your community since 2011. Visit stateside.ie for menu options and offers.
Taking time out to visit a healthcare professional isn't always convenient. That's why at Irish Life Health, we visit you. With My Clinic, our members get virtual access to back and neck physiotherapy, professional counselling, unlimited GP consultations and more. Search Irish Life Health. A better life with Irish Life Health. Services available where covered in your plan and clinically appropriate. Professional counselling available to age 16 plus. Back and neck physio to age 18 plus. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Check out these special offers at Simpsons Supermarket Letterkenny. Fire logs 10 pack €12. Bold 100 wash €10. Fairy liquid 1 litre €2. Fairy dishwasher tabs 78 pack €9. For Halloween, we have all your needs from pumpkins, face paints and loads of sweets for all the trick-or-treaters. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe for great food, teas and coffees. Only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. Simpsons Supermarket. Great value every day.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Agriculture Minister is reassuring consumers there shouldn't be a problem with turkeys this Christmas. It comes as poultry owners have been issued with an order to house their flocks from next Monday to prevent the spread of avian flu. Earlier this week, a case of bird flu was confirmed after a swan was discovered dead in County Cavan. Minister Charlie McConalogue says the introduction of a housing order is a precautionary measure.
The key objective here is to ensure that we keep all of our flocks and commercial flocks, and particularly, obviously really important in the next number of weeks and up to Christmas is our turkey flocks, which obviously Christmas being the absolute peak of the year, really important for families across the country and really important for farmers as well in relation to the income that derives from that. So that's why we have moved now by putting in place the housing order from next Monday. It was the earliest we've ever put the housing order in place.
Inishowen Municipal District has been told there is anger in Buncrana over the lack of progress being made in developing a new state-of-the-art leisure centre. Plans have been in place for a number of years for the development of a new centre after the previous one closed in 2014, but as of yet progress hasn't been made. Councillor Jack Murray says the works should be carried out in tandem with the €20 million Re-Empower Buncrana project. Speaking at a recent meeting of the MD, he asked if there'd be money available through that tranche to direct it toward the leisure centre facility.
When we look at the €20 million, estimated €20 million that we're going to be investing as part of the Repower and Buncrana project into the shorefront, if any of that money can be redirected to the leisure centre, if any shortfall that we need for Buncrana Leisure Centre could be directed towards that, because you cannot underestimate just how big an issue that is. Very, very angry that it's lay unused for so long, and it's shown an area with over 40,000 people does not have a public leisure facility. So I think if we're going to redevelop the shorefront, then the leisure centre should be a critical and central part of that, because the two of them should be developed in tandem.
Donegal has recorded the lowest amount of sunshine in the country so far this year. The location with the least amount was Mallinhead, with just 117 sunshine hours per month. Belmullet in County Mayo was second with 122.4 hours, followed by Gertrude in County Sligo with 131.5. Johnstown in County Wexford had the highest amount of monthly sunshine, 162.8 hours per month. Threshold says an average of 472 private renters every month are contacting its services because they face eviction. The National Housing Charities advisors are answering one call every 20 minutes from people receiving notice to quit from their landlords. It says it's helped prevent more than 1,000 households becoming homeless between July and September, including nearly 1,200 children. 60% of the eviction notices being issued to renters are because the landlord intends to sell the property. Threshold's National Advocacy Manager, Anne-Marie O'Reilly, says the figures could be just the tip of the iceberg.
It's on average 472 a month are coming to us, and that's just the ones that are ringing Threshold. There's presumably others who've received notice of termination as well, who haven't got in touch with ourselves. So it really is at an unprecedented level, as you say, around the country.
It's a red letter day for Atlantic Technological University. The first of 5,000 students to graduate from ATU are graduating today at the ATU Donegal campus in Letterkenny. Ceremonies take place today and tomorrow. In total, over 5,000 students will graduate in the coming weeks. 1,390 in Donegal, followed by 1,780 in Sligo, 1,850 in Galway and Mayo. They'll be taking place in the coming weeks. Donegal County Council is being urged to put pressure on Irish Water to re-evaluate sewer treatment plants across the county. Councillor Michael McBride says there are many areas in the county where treatment plants were initially installed to deal with less than 100 homes and they're now dealing with far more and can't cope. He says in some areas such as Kilmacrennan, a smell of sewage is becoming more evident. Councillor McBride says priority needs to be given to areas where there's been a sudden increase in the number of residents.
I just asked that Donegal County Council would ask Irish Water to revisit their schedule of works on those and prioritise the towns and villages that have had a lot of extra people move into them, mainly Ukrainians, and that they would be prioritised for rebuilding, basically. Some of them in the fairly large scale bodies of work for to upgrade them plants. And I'm asking that them types of towns and villages would be put to the front of the queue now.
Largely dry with sunny spells today, just some isolated showers, a chance of hail and thunder. It'll stay quite cool with highs of just 8 to 11 degrees Celsius, winds remaining blustery at times near coastal areas. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Good morning.
Obituary notices for Thursday morning, November 3rd. The death has taken place of Michael McDaid, St John's Park, Buncrana. Remains are reposing at his residence. Funeral from there on Saturday at 10:15 a.m, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time from 9 p.m. until 11 a.m. Family flyers only, donations if desired, to Buncrana Nursing Unit Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Jim Deeney, Hythe, Kent, England, and formerly of West End, Buncrana. Funeral will take place in England at a later date. The death has taken place of Margaret McGinley, Lower Glassa, Gweedore. Margaret's remains are reposing at her late residence. Rosary tonight at 8 p.m. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m, going to St Columkille's Chapel, Knockfalla, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private please from after the Rosary until 10 a.m. Family flyers only, donations if desired, to Arish Gweedore, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Neil Doherty, Moss Road, Tierna League, Carndonagh. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m, going to St Mary's Church, Lag, Malin, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flyers only please, donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. Family time from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. The death has occurred of Aidan Gallen, late of 16, Barley Hill Road, Kilclean, Castlederg. Aidan's remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. in St Patrick's Church, Castlederg. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The death has taken place of Michael Clare, 3 Parknacool, Kilmacrennan. Remains will repose at his home today from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in St Columba's Church, Kilmacrennan. Cremation in Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan, at a later date. Funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Nuala Patricia McGill of Glenbrook Terrace, Derry, and Lechnatraw, St Johnson. Funeral from her sister's home, 42 Buncrana Road, Derry, tomorrow morning at 11:15 a.m. for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Beithn's Church, St Johnson. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flyers only please, donations in lieu of flyers if wished to Alzheimer's Society, Seven Oaks, Derry. The death has occurred of James Callahan, Jim, formerly of Ederowan Park, Derry. Funeral leaving Bradley and McLaughlin's funeral home tomorrow morning at 10:20 a.m. to St Joseph's Church, Gallia, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. The death has taken place of Paddy Hegarty, 10 Lissowan Avenue, Buncrana. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m, going to St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana for 10 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. House private from 11 p.m. until 10 a.m. Family flowers only, please. And the death has taken place of Eilish Hunter, née Hegarty, Drummany, Letterkenny. Eilish's remains are reposing at her late residence from 12 noon until 10 p.m. today. Rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in New Lake Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Donegal Alzheimer's Society, care of any family member. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
All right, if you are playing Highland Radio Bingo, supporting the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, where all the money you raise here, over €250,000 so far, gets spent locally. If you're waiting to play that to see if you can win today's jackpot, stay right where you are. The numbers are coming right up. They're on their way. But let's run through a few things just before we get to that. I wonder, could you raise the conversation on visiting in nursing homes? Still, 31 months later, you have to ring to make an appointment to visit, and we are not allowed to see or mix with any other residents while we are there. It feels ridiculous at this stage, as the majority of nursing homes are back to normal, visiting unannounced and through the front doors. I'm not sure what the story is in terms of visiting there. The bottom line is, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it anymore, the COVID word, it's out there, it's spreading. A lot of people I know getting really quite sick with it, if the truth be told. It's pretty harmful to certain groups of individuals, maybe those that might be in nursing homes and in hospitals. And whether we like it or not, the Public Health have decided some rules as it relates to visiting to protect people. Good morning. How knowledgeable is John McAteer? Could you could listen to him for hours. He's so interesting to listen to. Get him a weekly slot, please. I think John has his own podcast as well, but we have John on really regularly here, and for good reason as well. Good morning, Greg. The biggest data centre uses as much electricity as 250,000 homes. They do, but they contribute massively to the Irish economy as well. Again, if there were a billion homes in Ireland, you'd go 250,000 homes. That's nothing. The bottom line is our power infrastructure in this country has suffered from neglect, years of underinvestment. It shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be looking at one particular part of industry and going, oh, look, you're taking all of our juice. You know, the planning is in there for more data centres, but where's the planning to increase Ireland's electricity output? I'm not a big fan of data centres, by the way, but I do recognise the billions that they do bring in extra taxes for as long as that might last. The question is, you know, if you have a house, okay, and it has a certain amount of electricity going into that house, and you decide that you're going to, rent every single room, and next thing you know, instead of 3 people in your house, there's 50 people in your house, you can't be surprised then when your electricity runs out and you go, oh, well, why have I no power? Because in any normal business, you would go, right, I'm going to have to increase my electricity input because it's a business, you see. That's what this country hasn't done very well. Good morning, Greg. These priests calling for him to apologise would need to go back and read the Bible. This is all about hurt feelings. Snowflakes crying against priests these days aren't real priests, believes that caller there. Can an employee ask you why you want a day off from work and refuse days off at Christmas? It depends on your contract. I'm not sure. It's one we might need to get specific advice for you on that. I think with proper notice, you have some level of protection there, I'd imagine. Why you need the day off, I don't think that's anyone's business but your own. Now, if you're asking at short notice, you might want to offer a reason, but I don't see why you should have to do that routinely. And booking time off at Christmas, it depends on your contract. You might have big employers that close over Christmas and close for a week in, say, the end of August, and they will set out when you can take your other days off. There are some businesses like that. Why are birds not put in immediately and not next week, closing the stable door when the horse is gone? Presumably it's for planning purposes. Greg, always great to hear John McAtee give his analysis on the political situation. Yeah, indeed. A lot of people contacting us about the road closure at Creasla. People understand why, and a court order has been sought to keep it closed until November 27th. Now, a lot of people might say, well, there's plenty of room there to go round it, maybe even do traffic lights and a one-way system. Surely that can be accommodated. So we've had lots of messages saying, well, why can something not be done other than what's there now? This caller says the diversion road from Creasla to Letterkenny is becoming a risk now. The road was not built for this volume of traffic. I use this road daily, and while I have huge sympathy for the families, I can see no reason for our main road to continue to be closed. When I meet a bus late at night, it's dark and dangerous. Are we going to wait until something happens before something is done? There is a balance there. Of course, we need a proper, full investigation. But in any circumstances, there's competing priorities, isn't there? You say, well, we can continue our investigation in its fullness and completeness with its importance, but can we also accommodate traffic that needs to get past here? And I believe there could be a common sense solution to that. If Mary Coughlin runs, it's like going back to Wilma of the Flintstones, done nothing when she was Minister for her county. That's your view, but to many people within Fianna Fáil, that she is the person. Mary Coughlin and Fianna Fáil destroyed this country, believes another listener. But to Fianna Fáil supporters out there, they will point to the progress the country has made under Fianna Fáil. You might say, what progress? I'm not saying it. I'm just saying that we all have different views here. And there are loyal Fianna Fáil supporters and some who were wobbling that might go, right, this is what the party needs, Mary Coughlin coming back. This is the type of society we live in where we all think for ourselves relatively freely. Right, okay, let us take a break for those bingo numbers. Keep us busy on the phones. Get your phone out, even if you've never texted a radio show before. I don't want anyone listening at the radio going, oh, but that person is blah, 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 and he said this. And your view is important. So get your phone out, 086 60 25,000. Tell me why it's a load of nonsense or why it's right or whatever. Or maybe there's something that you drive to work or around about wherever and it's annoying you or it's bothering you or it's great or it's fantastic or you saw something that's brilliant. Anything like that there. Get your phone out, text us 086 60 25,000 anonymously. Give us a call on 07491 25,000. It's your show, it's your radio station. Get involved in the conversation. Direct it the way you want to direct it. And email too, comments@highlandradio.com. All right, good luck if you're playing today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, November 3rd, Jackpot Day. Today's jackpot is €11,800. Today's jackpot number is 58. You're playing on a pink coloured sheet. The reference number is S19. It's game number 44. The numbers are 16, 75, 81, 46, the number 9, 24, 29, 32, 54, and 87. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Do I go all electric? Or do I go mild hybrid? Or do I go somewhere in between and go plug-in hybrid? Why not go and find out at your local Ford dealer? The Ford electrified range is now available for 2023. There's the all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Kuga plug-in hybrid, and the Puma mild hybrid. Now with great promotions across the range, make 2023 the year to electrify your drive. Ford, bring on tomorrow. Visit Ford.ie.
Do your home appliances need updating? Your latest tech due an upgrade? Or is your TV just not as smart? Then you need Irwin Expert Electrical. With over 20 years experience and expert advice, make it Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny or Buncrana. Find us on Facebook.
At iMotors, we've reduced the pricing of all of our pre-owned vehicles. With unbeatable value, we won't be beaten on price. We guarantee we have the car for you. From a starter car to SUV, ranging from Kia, Nissan, Jag, BMW or Opel, we have it all. Visit us in Letterkenny or Malin, or check out our website, imotors.ie.
Fly with Aer Lingus from Donegal to Dublin from $29.99 one way. That's 2 flights daily to and from Dublin. So what are you waiting for? See airlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Okay, now we're joined on the programme by Anthony Molloy, Councillor Anthony Molloy, but former footballer, of course, and he's got his autobiography out. Now, you've heard some interviews on this. I know Brendan Devaney chatted to Anthony and elsewhere, but we wanted our own go at him. Anthony Molloy, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How would you describe yourself, Anthony? You're a private person. I mean, obviously, you're in the public eye. You've been in the public eye through your athleticism, and now it's the political public eye. But what kind of a person are you? Are you not shy, but are you private? Are you what?
Well, I suppose first of all, I was a shy sort of a person, Greg, and but I think I would consider myself a very laid back guy, and I don't take things that serious. Like, and suppose my motto in life is, and it's going back a long time, every day I get up, like if I can't help somebody, like I won't do them any harm either.
Yeah,
and that's my motto. I stick to that there. But I'm an easygoing guy. Greg, yeah.
Right. Why did you decide now was the right time for an autobiography?
Well, I suppose there were a number of factors, and I suppose I would have been in the public eye anyway, for a long time, and I would have been thinking about doing a book after I retired, and then I would throw it to the back of my mind because, would I have the memory to go back 50 years and all that there, and so I'd always put it to the back of my mind, and then over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago, I got a call out of the blue from Liam Hayes, and we talked about the historic day of '92 and the 30-year anniversary was coming up on that there, and talked about a lot of things. We talked about football, like in our time and playing, and how things have changed and all that there. And he more or less says, Molloy, now is the time, to do what you're thinking of doing. And I agreed that day with Liam, because also, like, I would have played against Liam as well, and he has been a two-time All-Ireland winner himself, and he would have known all about the dressing rooms, and he would have known all outside the dressing room as well. And he was also a journalist and a publisher, so yeah. So I knew Liam was the man for the job as well.
And did you have a notion at that point at the story that you wanted to tell? Like, had you been keeping notes, or, a lot of people think they've got a book in them, but most of us are wrong, when it comes down to the nitty gritty. But obviously, with the ups and downs of your career, and I think maybe a lot of things about your career that people didn't know, had you already maybe in some way got a structure in your mind as to why this might be a story that might interest people?
Yeah, well, I never kept notes, Greg, and I often think, this is just a pity we hadn't kept a diary. People keep diaries, and it would have been very, very useful to me. But I had, I suppose, mental notes, and my memory is still very good, thanks be to God, sport for me, like, coming from where I came from, and I support a backward area above Glengesh from Yamagura, 4 houses there, and coming from there, and having every young lad's dream as well, winning an All-Ireland medal, and captain in Donegal and all them things, and coming from where, a farming background, like, I mean, father was a farmer and all that there, a small farmer, like, and relaying all our own games, like, we had nothing, in them days at home, Greg, only, as a pastime, only football in our hands, we played among ourselves, and neighbours would call around, and we play outside the house and all that there, and often say, like, many's a wonder we broke as well, and all that sort of stuff, and difficult to get wee fields to play in up there, because ground up there was sacred, for hay and so on, like, and and then along comes 92 as well, like, and the biggest day of my life, may I add,
And before we get to that, sometimes we take it for granted, don't we, the importance of the GEA and the opportunities it gives people, to give, and it's not just you, so many people, and it can be, everyone's sort of achievement is relative. It could be that under 16 medal that still hangs proudly in a room somewhere. It could be, scoring a point in a county final for your school, or whatever it is. It's amazing, sort of. You wonder, without the sport, that particular sport, to fill the gap, what would give people opportunities living just outside Ballantrae or 10 miles from Ardra or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes we don't really, maybe those particularly outside the game, realise how important it was in giving people something to aspire to and a pathway to achieve it if you put your mind to it and you were lucky to have a bit of skill.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it, Greg. Like, the GAA is the greatest organisation, not alone here in Ireland, but in the world. There's no doubt about that there. And it's the hub of all our communities. And there was no under nines in my time, but I believe, there's under sixes out now, like, on to training pitches and that there during the week, which is a great outlet, maybe away from being on, on laptops or keypads or wherever at home, so it gets the younger people out. Also, it gets them out to mix as well, and it's also healthy. Like, the GAA plays such an important role, like, in every single parish, like, all around the country, and sometimes we don't, we do not thank the GAA, like, enough for what they're doing, and also, like, for me, like, Greg, I have made so many friends, like, all over, like, and outside the country as well, like, that if I go to Cavan, like, if I go to Derry, like, I can give a guy I played against a call, like, and meet forever, like, and have a bit of banter, so huge organisation, as you say, Greg, and I just don't, I can't understand what I would have done or where or how it would have turned out if I hadn't GAA, but football was my life, Greg,
Yeah. And even now, you see, with the likes of recently the St. Eunice GA draw and the Dunlow draw, it's all about investment into their facilities in the pitch. And in interviewing both camps, quick to point out how this is about attracting new people in to give new opportunities. That the fact that there's more people playing the sport, more underage. Thankfully now the women's role is stronger. You know what I mean? So it's still. And there's people listening hate the GAA, and then there's others that would live and die for it. That's just the way society is. But still, it is a organisation or an association that is trying to adapt and expand in 2023. So the future, you would imagine, is bright.
Exactly, like, and to be fair, like, the facilities now are fantastic there, like, and even just go back, like, we officially opened the Centre of Excellence in Conway there 2 weeks ago, like, and what a facility to have there, like, a state-of-the-art facility, like, and it's there for everybody, it's not lone GAA, like, it can be used by anybody, and the GAA does play a massive part, and even go back, to the time even of tragedies, in your community, go back to the Creeslough tragedy, like St. Michael's GAA played a massive part that week as well, and helping out and doing whatever they could. And, I've seen that myself with their own tragedy back in Ardra a few years ago. The GAA played a massive part in organising and doing everything that could be done, So the GAA, are involved more. Look at all sports are good, Greg. All sports, like, are good, like, for anybody to get involved, and it's not all about winning either, Greg. It's the taking part as well, and I keep stressing that as well, like, which is important.
I mean, obviously, an awful lot happened until 1992, but everywhere you go, I'm sure that's what people want to talk to you about. And there's no doubt that was the high point of your career, Anthony. Is it a day? Is it a season? How do you sort of, how does that season and how its culmination, how does that just sit in your mind as you reflect back on it?
Look, Greg, it's as clear as yesterday, like, and although it is 30 years ago, like, and it's something that will always remain with me, the greatest day of my life, you know, and something I dreamed about all my life, you know, and here I was, like, you know, to be the first man to accept Sam Maguire on behalf of my country, and that, you know, today is huge pride for me, and huge pride, like, from where I came from, my family and my club and my county and the lads that I played with, you know, and look at it, it's something that definitely, like, will stay with me, and the greatest day of my life, you know, and even today, like, there's people, you know, walking up to me and they go back to that day 30 years ago, you know, and yeah, it was one great
But even you and the rest of the squad, and, you know, they're scattered all around Donegal, still to this day revered. You know, some of you are still in the spotlight. There's other guys that, you know, they're not in the spotlight as such, that they're doing other things in their life, but still, it commands a respect. There's something about it. You'll still get the odd drink bought for you here or there. It's that important, isn't it? And that's the whole squad.
Yeah, well, I suppose the first time, really, like, you know, it was the first time ever, like, and I suppose that will always remain special, like, and you know, when there's history made, like, and I suppose bearing in mind, you know, we made history as well back in 1982, like, when we won the under 21, like, All Ireland for the first time as well, like, and but it was great to see them lads, like, there was a good few of them around last Friday night as well, like, and a lot of them lads, you know, has put a lot back into Jay as well, like, you know, in terms of management and coaching and all that as well, like, and no more than Declan, you know, like Declan Bonner, like, what he has done, like, since he retired, like, and yeah, look at it was great meeting with him, and but last Friday night, you know, the supporters are still there from 30 or 40 years ago. They're still there, and they're still talking about that day, Greg.
What can you tell us that we don't know in this book about that? I mean, obviously, we get to know your experience. We get to know your specific experience, I suppose, as captain, because there's even more weight on your shoulders. It's just not just the game itself; it's the lead up to it, it's the aftermath of it. So talk to us about the insight, the unique insight you're able to give us into this into that period of history in the book, Anthony.
Well, it's mostly, like, you know, for me, like, and I say, like, I was coming from a sort of a background, a backward background. When I left to Sam Maguire, it definitely changed my life forever, Greg. Right, you know, from being, it's probably known Donegal and Ulster maybe, but not that well known all over the country then, but you're known worldwide, and there was an added pressure there. All of a sudden, you know, you had to become fairly good at public speaking, because there were speeches being made every night, like something I wasn't used to, but I had to learn, Greg, you know, and things like that there, and you know, the pressure of there, like, you know, of every night, every day, there was somewhere to go, but there was something different, you know, someplace different, you know. And
was that coordinated for you? Because you would have been polled in every London Association, Dublin Association, New York Association, wherever it might be. You know, I can imagine you were being polled. Did you have to organise all that stuff yourself, Anthony, or did the association help you out?
I was very, very lucky, Greg, that Stephen McCall, you know,
yes,
coordinated all that for me. Like, and you know, I would not have managed otherwise. You know, there's no doubt about that there. And he said about the dates everywhere, like, and looked after. He even organised drivers with me everywhere I went, all over the country. The young club people, like, which I'm very thankful. Otherwise, Greg, I would not have managed, to be quite honest, because everybody wanted Anthony and Sam. You know, and you know, I was doing schools during the day, like, you know, BSB gave me 6 months off, so we done the schools. But that evening or that night, Greg, I had to go somewhere else, like, you know, with the cup as well, whether it be a pub opening or some sort of a business, like.
And you need maybe someone to say, no, Anthony, this one you have to say no to. You can only do so much, or.
Yeah, well, you know, as you know, Greg, like, Donegal went absolutely mad, like, for months and months on end, like, and even into Christmas and beyond Christmas. You know? And it was night and day, and you know, I keep saying this to people. Just one particular night, we had to have the cup and Faughan Vale at 7 o'clock up in Derry, it had to be in Navan for the Donegal Association at 11 o'clock that night. One of the worst nights that ever came. We eventually got back to Navan at 1 o'clock in the morning, and a huge crowd waiting on us there, right? So the following day, we went off to Chicago, and we done 4 cities in 6 days. Now that's inside 7 days, like Greg, like, and that is what. So you can imagine, like, when the novelty wore off, like, it was great, Greg, for the first 4-6 weeks. There's no doubt about that there, like touring about with Sam and that there. But when the novelty wore off, there certainly was pressure there, like, and just getting tired of it. You know, every night you had to go out, like when you're lovely to stay at home, but you had to go.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, and, you know, instant superstar status to all intents and purposes. Now, you might say, well, he's not a superstar because someone in, you know, Bangladesh didn't know who he was, but in your world, you were a superstar. You were being pulled everywhere, and that's it. But, you know, that starts to wane then eventually. Things move on, and then there's that period of time too, a short time thereafter, really, whereby you were no longer an inter-county footballer. Then you weren't even, I think you did one other season, was it one extra season with Ardra? It's a tough, that is a tough switch from that euphoric year to saying, right, well, that's the end of it. Now, there's so much more leading up to it, but we'll focus on this area before, because I've spoken to a number of footballers, and it's not just GAA, by the way. This happens in soccer, it happens in boxing. When it's time to hang up the boots or the gloves or whatever it might be, it's tough.
Greg, it's something definitely, you know, that I was not prepared for, and I have to say that there, like, and you know, there's a routine all my life, Greg. You know, you train Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you games during the week, or you played the weekends, and again, that's the way it was. And to all of a sudden, when I played my last game for Ardra, I broke my collarbone, unfortunately, and that was it, like in '95, and my knee anyway was done as well, Greg. So there wasn't much left anyway, but all of a sudden, then you had this vacuum, you know, that football was my life. And, you know, I wasn't into golf much at the time, or cycling or anything like that there. So all of a sudden, I missed the lads, I missed the training, I missed running out onto fields, the applause and all that there. Like, and it was a difficult time for me, and like, it was something that I was definitely not ready for, you know. And as a result, you know, I was lonely as well, you know, and it was a huge vacuum in my life that I was not prepared for.
And it's a loneliness that not anyone can fill, because it's a loneliness for the teammates. It's a loneliness for that buzz. With the nicest people around us, necessarily they could not satisfy that loneliness. Is that how it felt?
Exactly, like, because you know, I felt very much on my own, or as they say, on the scrap heap as well. You know, and you know, and this massive void here all of a sudden, and I found that difficult, Greg, to deal with. And,
how did you work through it, Anthony?
Eventually, well, you know, to be saying it's in the book, like, I found it was a very, very low period in my life, and I wasn't in a great place. So I found myself wandering across the town to pubs and so on, like, and just to have company, probably more than anything else. And that went on for a while, but I found after a while that wasn't the way to go, and I got professional help and all that, Greg.
Yeah.
And I've written that in the book as well.
Which I think is really, really important, because there's, you know, I think it's important our heroes, our icons, or whatever, speak their truth as well, because there's people that advocate for teenagers. There's lots of people that advocate for teenagers. There's lots of people advocate, but, you know, there will be people maybe of your age group or 10 years younger or whatever that look to you and go, well, if Anthony Malloy had to do that, or if Anthony Malloy, that worked for him, maybe it would work for me. Like, do you be conscious? Is that part of the reason why you were so open? The fact that maybe some person who's resisting help or something might read it and go, well, you know what? Maybe I can do that too. Maybe it can work for me. There's a bit of responsibility in that. Did you think about that in advance?
Certainly did, Greg, and like, I was very conscious of that there, because I hope this book will help other people. You know, because it's not all about the bright lights and you know, and all that there that goes with. So, you know, I do know like that success comes with a price. There's no doubt about that there, and it depends on how you handle it. And but I learned after a bit, that with professional help on that there, and going to AA for a good while around that time, I had good people around, a lot of good support around me. Like I found out a lot about Anthony Malloy. What makes me tick, and that there.
Did you like what you found out?
Sorry.
Did you like what you found out?
I knew it was there, and then because when I was playing, there's a huge drink culture there anyway, Greg. Among Jay and among the players and supporters alike. And like the typical thing, like was after a club game you go to the pub, and after a county game you go to the pub, and you're there till morning. And me being me, like I would think that would have to. I think it's still important, that, to mingle with and mix with my supporters, the people that pay in the gate to watch you. I done all that, Greg, to my expense, probably at the end of the day. Like, but I was one of these persons that couldn't say no, and all that there, afraid what people thought about me if I made a speech, what people thought about my speech. Pure nonsense, Greg, today, when I found out that there, like, I don't care today, like, Greg, Anthony Malloy is happy within himself today, and like, I don't care what other people think of Anthony Malloy today, as long as I am happy with Anthony Malloy. Like, it took me a long time to get there, Greg.
Yeah, it can take a long time. In terms of just even, at the height of your career, Anthony, were you nervous heading into games, or
Yes. What I found out, I had no problem with the captaincy. It came easily to me. Like, but what I found out, if I wasn't prepared properly for a game, if I wasn't prepared mentally for a game, I had a certain amount of fear. There's no doubt about that there. But if I had done the right things leading up to a game, look, you'll always get butterflies. What's to say is a good sign. We're all natural. Like before you go out onto the field, like that's always there. But once you hit the field, like them butterflies quickly, they disappear. But that's what I did find. If I was not prepared, I had a certain amount of fear. But
did you have any pre-match rituals?
Not necessarily. One of the pre-match rituals I always had. I visualized the guy that I was playing against in my head, and I was going to beat him, and I was jumping over him in my head, right, and balls and all that there. That was the one ritual I had, Greg. Yeah.
Right, okay. Worked well anyway. All right, so any potential players out there. Right, so just back onto the retirement thing, because, you see it with in the army as well. I think it's maybe, when you play sport at the highest level or consistently for a long time, you get kind of institutionalized. And I think you see that with the army as well. Is the GEA doing enough? And I don't know where you would stop or where you would stop. And this isn't a criticism, but is the GEA doing enough to recognise that maybe when players retire or they're forced out with injury or whatever, that, I'm not saying provide full-on counselling for everyone, but that it's talked about more, that it's recognised, and that maybe something is put in place to encourage, ex-players to seek the help? Because I think they've given so much, it would be a fair enough request in return.
Yeah, look at Greg, things have changed, massively, since my time playing. And, I suppose my generation, we were a more closed type of people, right? We didn't speak openly. But, thankfully, the younger people now, they are not afraid, to speak about whatever bothers them. And look at the GPA, Greg, are doing massive work, and all them fields there you're talking about, they have all sorts of backup services there for people with addictions and everything else, and doing fantastic work, they even put people back to school if you want to go back, I believe, and all that there. And, they weren't there in my time, but yeah, the GPA are doing massive work now in that field, Greg, yeah.
Now, this is going to take a bit of imagination. Do you not envy modern players nowadays? Because, if you had a good game or a bad game, you might have heard about it, maybe it'd been referenced in the Sunday game, or someone might have said something to you in the pub, or, you might have had a lower rating in the back of the newspaper or whatever, but it was short, 2 days later, move on to the next game. Now, everything, and we've seen it in terms of management with Declan Boner as well, now everything is scrutinised on social media. And even if you say, don't go on social media, I know players will go on and check what people are saying about them. You wouldn't envy modern players and management in the game. I think that's the one sort of particularly toxic part of sport now is the free for all online. And I just wonder if you are sort of, if you are a person that struggles with your mental health, it must be very damaging and hurtful.
Yeah, but I suppose first of all, like we're very lucky in our era. Look, that there were no keyboard warriors, Greg. And if you had a bad game or if you had a good game, you were told about it, and that was it. Like, but I do not agree with what's happening right now. And look at I what the keyboard warriors are at is wrong. And even how Declan Bonner, just come back to that one, Declan, look, the huge work Declan Bonner has done for this country as a player and as a manager.
Because he could have walked away. He could have retired and, maybe do some underage management in his own area, play the odd game. He didn't have to put himself forward for any of that.
No, but, they funny enough, Greg, see managers and that, they are tough. They are tough-skinned people. Like, they wouldn't take the job unless they were able to handle it.
Yeah, I get you, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you have to be like that. You have to be built like that there, and you have to take criticism, and you have, as long as it's constructive, like, but, the nasty stuff put up on the media, Facebook or whatever, it's uncalled for. Like, but you see, the likes of managers, like, they can take the keyboard warriors, but the worrying factor is the harm it does to their families around them, their sons and their daughters.
Yeah,
all this. That is the biggest problem I have with that. There's no place for that, Greg.
I think sometimes people, if you feel like saying something really nasty on social media, it's just reflect a little bit on where you are at in your life. Because I think a lot of this stuff comes from people being, if someone's really nasty to me on social media, especially if they're parents or whatever, I think, the way I feel is that I think I would love if they could maybe look at their own lives and what's missing or what gaps are there or what makes them feel this hatred or anger that they feel they have to type it out. And what then, how does that make them feel? Does that make them feel better in themselves? So I have sympathy for people that are particularly nasty on social media, because I think it's really a indicative of something that's severely lacking, like maybe a hug or something in their own life.
Exactly, Greg. Look, you could not have said it any truer. Like, and I agree totally with you. Like, these so-called keyboard warriors, like, they're in an awful dark place themselves. Like, and they would need to look at themselves first of all within, because certainly they have a lot of issues. Look, that they haven't dealt with, and most of these people seemingly are very, very angry people, and things that they haven't dealt with and all that there. So I'd be sorry when I see these keyboard warriors quite on, because you're after saying it, like, they have so many issues themselves, like, and living in a very dark situation. Look at and what they're just sending it out to somebody else.
Right. So back to the book. Sorry. There's a lot in here, and the way it's structured. You have to be careful, don't you? But you're working with a great team that know their stuff as well as yourself, because you want a book that doesn't disappoint the sports fan. Because there's certain people that will open this at Christmas and they'll want the ins and outs of the cut and thrust of the what's on the pitch and what's off the pitch and all that kind of stuff. They want a few anecdotes about someone and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you also have those moments of reflection where you talk about some of the stuff that we've already been talking about. It's 15 chapters. And 3 of those are sort of reflective chapters. So it's a balance to be struck, isn't it? Because, if someone likes classical music, you don't want to throw in heavy rock in the middle of it either. So you have to structure it correctly. You're happy with the way the balance has been struck there, Anthony?
Well, first of all, like, we have to mention my ghostwriter, Frank Craig, Greg, right? And it would have been impossible to do this project, like, without Frank. And he's a good friend of mine down the years and that there, and huge knowledge, and a great sports writer as well. Like, and to be fair, Frank used to come to me, like, for maybe 2 hours a week, like, over a year period, and I would lie back on the sofa and he would turn on the tape, look at it. I would waffle away.
Like therapy. It was like therapy.
It was very, we would have our teas and our coffees, we would take a break, and but I thought that we needed, to change, and I've read a lot of books, JA books, but it would be chapter after chapter about football, their club football, their county football, and you tend to get a bit lost when it's all football. Like, so we decided like that we break up the chapters and go back, to the living part outside the football scene a bit, and I think that has worked well for us, Greg.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Okay, and listen, it's a great present, especially we are in Christmas time now, whether people like it or not. It's released at the right time. It's a great a book, I think. It's Anthony Malloy's autobiography, a memoir on life, glory, and those demons too, because life is light and shade, unfortunately, and we can't always ignore the one or other. What do you think of the new management team taking over, Anthony? Where is the game in this county at the moment? Is it a rebuilding exercise, or is it reorganising, reimagining what's already there?
Greg, look, we're still, in the top 5 or 6 counties football-wise. We haven't become a bad team overnight. I don't think we had the luck that you need. Like, we've been very close over the past couple of years and that there, and we do certainly need to find maybe 4, 5, 6 players to add to what we have there. They're a young side, Greg, and I'm delighted that we have a management team in place. I would know Paddy Carr. He played for Donegal when I came on the scene during the National League match. If you look at his CV, Greg, he has a fantastic CV. Like, he has managed Kilmacud Crokes, like to All Ireland success, and he's won 2 Leinsters. He's managed every single Dublin player of note at some stage in his career. And I just hope now, Greg, that we give Paddy and Aidan O'Rourke, just give them time, give them a bit of patience, and let's support them.
Right, so we have to, as fans, manage our expectations.
Exactly.
Getting past Armagh down and winning Ulster, that's the least, is it? Can we expect that?
Greg, look, we've had 10 golden years, and my time playing, Greg, getting to Clones for Ulster final day was a massive achievement, and and there's no doubt about that there. But I think
the flags don't even come out now for an Ulster final.
Exactly, because I think we're becoming like the Kerrys now. Where the Clones is no good anymore. We want All Irelands now. Like, so I think we do have to be patient. Look at what is no harm. Look at it's a great place to be in, Greg. And look at, hopefully we'll find. I think we do need 4, 5, 6 players. Like, and
in which particular areas do you think defensively is really where?
Yeah, Greg, we definitely need. Defensively, I think we need to find a few players for our defence. You see, it's amazing how the game has changed. We were always blessed with defenders, Greg, but since the defensive game came into place, you didn't have to be an out-and-out defender because you had so much cover all the time. So I think we need a few defenders definitely.
With that in mind, does it? And there's a lot of people out there shouting that really this needs to start at club level. Does that mean that we really need to go back to the way we used to play football, and not fall back behind the ball, not be, having your forwards on the back line? Because you can't be doing that at club level and then expecting really something completely different at inter-county level, or can you?
Well, look, I think the game has changed forever. Like, it'll never go back to the old traditional way anyway, that's for sure, which was a beautiful game too. But the game has changed, and so we have to go with the changes, But I think we do need to have a look, and I don't want to go back to changing rules again because we've changed so many rules over the last number of years, Greg. When I look at our games, 92, I don't think there was much wrong with the game at the time. I still think it's a man's game. Look at, you have referees there now, and God help them, there's 3 different cards there. So there's sometimes, in black, red, yellow. Look at, and it sickens me sometimes, maybe when the calls are got wrong and all that. But the game has changed, but I do hope that we get away from it being this total defensive of 14 guys behind the ball. And I think we have to do something about that there to make it more attractive. I think we have to go
even
back.
in a short-term way, just to sort of change the culture a little bit, reset it a little bit, even some sort of short-term rule measures, not necessarily something that might be required for.
Exactly, Greg, because even just maybe take a look at, that you have to have 3 forwards up all the time. Something like that there, mate. Yeah, some small tweaking like that there. But, the game definitely has changed. Jim McGuinness changed our game forever.
Yeah. Then you see some of the games during the last season, and they look like throwback games. really entertaining games, and they might say, well, listen, we're playing, this is our style of football. If you want rules, bring them in for Donegal and the rest of them. But listen, it's fascinating stuff, Anthony. I'd say you really enjoyed the launch last Friday, did you? Because it was the culmination of everything. You were surrounded by mates. I would say there was some waffle talked and some crack had during the event. I'd say you loved it. Did you, Anthony?
It was great, like, and it took me back. Like, we have closing 300 people there, which is big for a launch. Like,
it's huge. That is huge.
You know, and guys that I wouldn't have seen, you know, for a long, long time because of the COVID pandemic and all that there. And great people, like through out and out J people, like, and you know, people that talk football day in and day out, like, and it was great to get the supporters in there. You know, we had the likes of Brendan Levy, like, that played, you know, great guy. He was there, like, and these guys love talking to these sort of guys, you know, and all that. It was a fantastic night. There's no doubt. There was a great atmosphere there, Greg, you know.
Brilliant stuff. Okay. The book is out now. It's Anthony Molloy, an autobiography, a memoir on life, glory and demons. It's all in there. We've only touched on a few little bits and bobs in the general conversation, but it's a great little book for a present or for yourself, and it's out in all the usual spots. Anthony, thanks for your time today. It's been lovely chatting to you.
Thanks, Greg. And I have 2 books for you for maybe prizes later.
Brilliant. Okay.
I'll drop them in.
But you better sign them now.
Yes, we'll do, Greg.
Yeah. Right. Don't ruin them and sign the front. Do it on the inside.
Greg, I'm doing a signing at Bookmark on the 19th from 2 to 4 as well.
Okay, where's that?
The Bookmark Letterkenny. I'm at 4 Masters Bookshop on the 12th, 2 to 4, and Bookmark from 2 to 4 as well on the 19th. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, that's really good. Okay, that'll make it a real personal present. Brilliant stuff, Anthony. Thanks very much indeed for that. That's Anthony Molloy there. We'll be back with more after a break. Stay where you are.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
If that sounds good, so will this. Save up to €300 off your car insurance cover when you buy online at libertyinsurance.ie. That's based on a 25% discount for new policies. Up to €300 off your car insurance. That's money for living. That's liberty. Future-proof. Subject to a minimum premium and applied before optional covers. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Liberty Seguros Compañía de Seguros y Reaseguros S.A., trading as Liberty Insurance, is authorised by the General Directorate of Insurance and Pensions Funds in Spain and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Treat your family or friends to a hamper this Christmas from Kelly Centra, Letterkenny. Kelly's have great hampers to suit all budgets, including luxury hampers, available to collect or deliver. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Great gift ideas at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Call 91-22026.
Christmas can be expensive and a stressful time of year, and we here at McElhenny's are delighted to offer our customers a fantastic opportunity to join our Christmas Layaway Club. Have your special someone receive the Christmas gift they deserve this festive season and get the cost of Christmas all wrapped up, only at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
At Centra this week, choose from our amazing mega deals. Like half-price Kellogg's selected cereals like Rice Krispies 700 gram. Selected biscuits and biscuit bars mix and match any 3 for €5. And Comfort fabric conditioner 3 litre selected range, €4 each. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musicians. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and Ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Hi, Marty Friel here. Hope you can join me this and every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. Check out Arena 7 Bowling, 10 state-of-the-art bowling lanes with private VIP bowling room, perfect for parties or work nights out. For packages and bookings, visit arena7.ie.
Get value you can believe in with Sky. Like Sky Broadband with our award-winning Sky Q box for just €39 a month. That's super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings all in one place for just €39 a month for 12 months. That's value you can believe in. Go to sky.ie. Offer ends 3rd of November. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Attention all car owners, mechanics and garages. Teamet Limited, Northern Ireland's leading new and used car parts for all makes and models. With depots at Derry, Londonderry, Coleraine, Armagh and Belfast. Next day delivery available throughout Ireland. For details, log on to our website t-met.co.uk.
We can all see how conflict affects energy supply and prices. More than ever, we need to be mindful of how we use energy. By reducing your use, you can save money and lessen the impact. Here's how. Only heat your home to the temperature you need. Use appliances efficiently. And where possible, outside the peak hours of 4 to 7 p.m. Consider walking, cycling, or public transport for short journeys. Drive at lower speeds where safe to do so. Government advice and supports are available for homes and businesses to help you meet this challenge. Find out more at gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
I'm nipping to Super Value. Okay, tea, bread, weekly voucher on my app. Oh, and a year's free shopping.
Your trip to Super Value could look even better with our new Real Rewards Scan to Win monthly prize draw. Every scan of your Real Rewards card equals one chance to win. This November, there's 4 one-year free shopping prizes, a trip to Cannes, a prize to be won in every Super Value, and more. So, start scanning. T's and C's apply. See supervalue.ie for full details on how to enter. 1 year free shopping value is €5,200.
If you need advice on what's best for coughs or colds, or what's best for sore throats or flu, just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy. If you need advice on the best vitamins and tonics to put a pep in your step, just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy. Whether it's about backaches, headaches or tummy aches, your Brennan's pharmacy team can help. If you need advice from someone you trust, we're here for you at your local Brennan's pharmacy, Buncrana, Clonmany and Creeslow.
Okay, it's time for news update at 11:01, and we say good morning once again to Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Fianna Fáil councillor in Sligo who's at the centre of a bullying row says all he wanted from Mark McSharry was an apology. Deputy McSharry from Fianna Fáil TD for Sligo and Leitrim resigned from the party this week. He quit after a row over the handling of a bullying complaint against him. Deputy McSharry described the complaint by Councillor Donal Gilloy as highly politically motivated. The Agricultural Minister is reassuring consumers there shouldn't be a problem with turkeys this Christmas. It comes as poultry owners have been issued with an order to house their flocks from next Monday to prevent the spread of avian flu. Earlier this week, a case of bird flu was confirmed after a swan was discovered dead in County Cavan. Junior Business Minister Damien English visited the local enterprise office in Donegal yesterday, marking the end of a series of visits to all 31 offices across the country. He stressed the importance of local enterprise and praised the level of entrepreneurship in Donegal. People in Buncrana are angry over the lack of progress being made in redeveloping a new state-of-the-art leisure centre. Plans have been in place for a number of years for the redevelopment of the leisure centre following its closure in 2014, but progress has not yet been made. Councillor Jack Murray believes work should be carried out at the Buncrana Leisure Centre in tandem with the €20 million Re-Empower Buncrana project. Donegal County Council is being urged to put pressure on Irish Water to re-evaluate sewer treatment plants in across the county. Councillor Michael McBride says there are many areas of Donegal where treatment plants were initially installed to deal with less than 100 homes and are now unable to cope with growing populations. He says in some areas, such as Kilmacrennan, a smell of sewage is evident. And finally, Donegal has recorded the lowest amount of sunshine in the country. The location with the least amount of sunshine was Malin Head, with just 117 sunshine hours per month. Belmullet in County Mayo was the second darkest location with 124.4 hours. That's all for now. We'll be back with an update again at 1 o'clock, but until then, good morning.
All right, Emma, thanks very much indeed. Some of your comments here. Fantastic, interesting and honest interview from Anthony Malloy. I can't wait to read his book. Another one of the most memorable days in my schooling was the day Anthony's team brought the cup to the school. Greg, I had the pleasure of being seated beside Anthony as a guest in 1992 in the seating plan at the celebration dinner in their honour in St. Eunan's College. Wishing Anthony all the best with his book, A Lovely Gentleman for Sure. That comes in from Mary there. Hi team, regarding Creasler, please could you ask people to be patient with what has happened in Creasler. The reason the road isn't opened in Creasler is focused on safety. The building is very unstable. If the building falls unexpectedly, people walking or driving past are at risk, as well as maybe there could be a risk of contamination from passing traffic. We understand that diverted traffic isn't ideal. Please be patient. Not sure who's that coming from. I had reason to travel to Dunfanaghy during the week and took the diversion route on the outskirts of Creasler. I travelled the Glenveigh Road for miles with no road sign to indicate I was going the right way. Surely it's not rocket science for the council to place a couple of temporary signs along the road stating diversions. Dunfanaghy straight ahead. I was totally stressed as I didn't know where I was. I eventually turned back. A little bit more thought would make a big difference. All people travelling the road are not local. Thank you. That comes in from Kay. Especially Kay with the fact that this is long term. It's going to be there for another 24 days, effectively 3 weeks. Definitely needs to have adequate signage if it's not there. The harbour in Greencastle does not seem to be happening. A contract was given out but does not seem to be starting. Donegal County Council wants to spend the money elsewhere, and this is a known fact. The road between Redcastle and Moville was promised 38 years ago by Paddy Keaveney, now deceased. This was never completed. The harbour in Greencastle is the number one contention that would create 200 to 300 jobs in tourism. Data centres do not contribute to the Irish economy. Where did you get that idea? I got that from a report that I read from the IDA. In terms of its worth to the economy, data centres are worth 2.4 billion annually to the Irish economy. That's semi-direct, and also create thousands of jobs in their constructions. I'm not here to defend data centres for a second, but I want everyone, all of us, to look at all of the facts and then say, right, okay, would you mind there being data centres here which attract TikTok, Twitter, all these other companies? Would you mind if they were here? If it's a simple question, would you mind if data centers were eating 15% of the electricity? Would you mind if enough capacity, as had been warned, had been built? In other words, if there's no talk of blackouts, now they're not down to data centers, it's also down to what's happening with fuel and energy and all that kind of stuff. My point is would you have it in for data centers if we had enough power? Honestly, would you? So they're there, they're creating jobs and what have you. Now, as I say, I'm not here to support data centers, but the bottom line is we wouldn't even be having the conversation. Perhaps most of us would not even know there were data centers in this country if the suggested plans had been followed and proper capacity, not just for data centers, but for new builds and other industry, if that had been put in place as the government had been warned. We wouldn't even know data centers existed. Do you know, what are they? What are they? Well, you know what? They are backing up your iCloud. They're backing up your Google Photos. Your children playing Call of Duty or whatever game, FIFA they're playing. The data centers are storing that information. The servers are constantly chatting to the data centers. That's what they're there for. But we wouldn't know. We wouldn't care, would we? It's like wind farms. People say, oh, wind farms on a great 6 or 7 jobs. Yes, but the argument for them, and I have a serious issues with the location of wind farms. The idea is that the jobs are created by construction and blah, blah, blah. But data centers, it's far easier to determine their worth to our income. 2.3 billion, not to mention the other industry it attracts. So that's plus but we invited them here with our very generous sort of corporate tax rates as well. So we made this rod for our own back. When I say we, I mean the government. All right, 08660 25,000, that's the number.
The county's number one talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
Suckler farmers could be paid to destock. In this week's Farmers Journal, we reveal how farmers could be paid to cut cow numbers, pressure bills to get farmers into acres scheme, front-loaded fodder scheme payments to begin next month. Find out if your land is zoned under the new land tax. We reveal the top 5 issues in cross-compliance inspections. Plus, find out how you can get a free pair of Dunlop wellies worth €85 inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
In Aldi, French blend coffee 227 grams is $1.69. In Super Value, French style coffee 227 grams is $2.59. Just saying. And it's not just French coffee we're talking about. Swapping to Aldi could save you over €69 on your big family shop compared to Super Value. Ooh la la! Now that is amazing. Aldi, every day amazing. Comparing own label or equivalent brands. Lowest pro rata use check 20th of the 9th, 2022. Excluding offers, products and prices may vary. Details at aldi.ie/swap.
Hi, it's Owen. I can't answer the phone right now. I'm currently enjoying the advanced comfort seats and suspension with progressive hydraulic cushions in my new Citroen C5 Aircross SUV. I'm really enjoying the drive, so please don't leave a message.
With Citroen's advanced comfort technology, you may end up travelling further than you planned. Experience Citroen Comfort, a 5-year warranty and flexible payment options across the range. For more, see citroen.ie.
Citroën. The new Citroen C5 Aircross is now available at your local dealer, Highland Motors, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
St Columba's College, Stranorlar, open evening for 6th class primary students and their parents or guardians will take place on Tuesday the 8th of November at 7 p.m. in the school hall. A copy of the student's birth cert and PPSN are required to complete the application form.
Something new could be in your future. Something brand new, worth a bit, quite a bit, and it could be yours. Shh. Tune in to the 9 to Noon Show for more details.
Now, sorry, I meant to read the rest of this listener's text. Sorry if you are listening. Their text is, data centres do not contribute to the Irish economy. Where did you get that idea? Fewer than 5 employees per data centre. Don't confuse tech companies with data centres that have massive water and electricity consumption. Tech companies employ mostly foreign workers to moderate social media, and they can now work remotely, so it's a false economy. How many data centres are hosting pornography and cryptocurrency? Well, the majority of the traffic on Twitter, for example, the majority of traffic on Twitter is pornography and cryptocurrency. I bet you didn't know that. People thought it was, that's in terms of the upward curve. People thinking Twitter, it's where all journalists and politicians and all. It's not. It's porn and crypto. That's the majority of the traffic on Twitter. Huge percentage. I think it's 15% is not safe for work content on Twitter. And in terms of people talking about politics and all that, that's going down the way, and porn's going up the way on Twitter. That's what Elon Musk paid $44 billion for. Right, okay. Want to give William an opportunity to speak here. William, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. First, I'd like to express my condolences to the community and the immediate family of the victims in Donegal. But like a lot of people, I went to An Post and I made a contribution to the Red Cross. It was €500 on the 12th of October. I noticed in the receipt I got from An Post, it just said Red Cross. So I said, I want this to go to the Creeshler community. She said she didn't know anything about that. There was nothing in the pipeline with An Post to deal with that. So I filled out a CHY form and sent it to the Red Cross so that the Red Cross would get a tax benefit on my payment of €245. They contacted me to thank me, both in writing and on the telephone, but said they couldn't process it as I didn't make the payment. It was An Post that made the payment. So the Creeshler community is out of pocket by €245. And secondly, they asked me that I wanted to go into the General Red Cross Fund or the Creeshler Fund. So you have to ask yourself the question, how much money payable to the Red Cross via An Post went into the General Fund and not the Creeshler Fund?
Well, I have an answer for you on that. But
yes.
So how would they, when you made the donation to the post office and then you were speaking to the Red Cross, at what point how could the Red Cross have diverted your donation? Like how, if you get where I'm coming from, was that made clear?
No, it wasn't. Not at the time at Unpost. But when I filled out the charity tax deduct form that only the Red Cross can benefit from, I can't benefit from it personally. I put in Crísla Fund. You know, what do you want to support Crísla Fund? So they would have known from that letter, from that form, that it was for Crísla and not for the general fund.
Okay, so you
I'm
had
just concerned.
you had one experience with one person. So we got on to Unpost, and it says Unpost has been accepting donations for the Crísla Community Fund at all of our 900 plus post offices nationwide. Donations can be made by cash or debit card with no fee payable for making donations. The effort has been a great success with close to 1.5 million raised overall. It may have exceeded that at this stage, they say. And this is the important bit. All monies collected through post office goes directly to the Red Cross for the Crísla Fund, not the general Red Cross Fund. So there.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how that could have happened, because in my receipt it just said Unpost Irish Red Cross. There's nothing about the Crísla Fund in it. The receptionist at the teller at the post office knew nothing about the Crísla Fund and said they had no means to track it. When I sent the charity deduct form to the Red Cross, they said they couldn't deal with it because the payment came from Unpost and not from me, even though it was my debit card. And Unpost is a bank.
Right, so pardon my ignorance on this, William.
Yeah.
Could, if they, and we'll try and find out if they did, could the post office fill out that form in some form or manner?
No, the taxpayer fills that form out, and the benefit to the Crísla community would have been around €245
on one donation of €500.
On one donation of €500. Yeah, it's quite a generous. I can't claim it as an individual taxpayer, but the charity can claim it, and I'm just concerned.
So are you saying, William, are you saying, and as I say, we'll get clarity on this, are you saying that the Red Cross Fund loses out on about a 50% bonus if you donate directly to them versus donating through a post office?
The payment has to be a minimum of €250.
Yep.
And everything over €250 is registered against a CHY form.
Mm-hmm.
That's a charity form, which is submitted by the individual, in that case me. It's a CHY3 or a CHY4. One is valid only for the year of the contribution for all charities, and the other one is valid for 4 years.
Yeah, but
and I've long experience of this.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, Williams. But what I'm trying to get at, right, is if you would have donated directly to the Red Cross, they would have benefited by a further €241.
Absolutely.
But by you donating to Unpost and then Unpost passing that money onto the Red Cross, do you know if they've lost that €241?
Yeah, they phoned me yesterday and told me they can't process the CHY form.
So they've effectively lost out €241.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
And anybody else who would be in my position who could afford to pay a little bit, 250 plus, and issue the CHY form, there's no benefit to the charity, in this case the Red Cross, followed on, of course, by the Crísla community.
Okay. All right, listen, it's
So
interesting.
That's my concern.
Yeah.
I have a letter, I have correspondence, I have my receipt. It just says Unpost Irish Red Cross. There's no reference to Crísla Fund in it. I put it in the form. And I'm just concerned because, Crísla is such a tragic event. You'd love to see the community getting any benefits.
Well, what I think
financially that could be afforded to.
What Unpost are effectively saying to us is that if you go into a post office and you donate money, it's only for the Red Cross Crísla Fund. There is not another pathway.
I understand.
So
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that for 1 minute. But when I sent a CHY form to the Red Cross with my receipt, they said they got the money from Unpost, not from me, and they can't process it. Because there's nothing on the receipt that says it's my name other than the 4 last digits of my debit card.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that something should be highlighted and taken up by the Charities Commission or the Red Cross and regularised, because it is important.
Well, you know what? We'll reach out to the Charities Commission. We'll get some clarity on that and see if that's because, as you say, if there's an opportunity for a fund like this to benefit greater, but it can't because Unpost is a middleman. Well, that's problematic.
Well, the same way as my Bank of Ireland account is a middleman. So if I pay through the Bank of Ireland with my debit card to the Irish Red Cross, because it's a direct payment to the Irish Red Cross, they can process CHY. But any monies paid via Unpost, which is also a bank, is not allowable against the CHY deduction system.
All right, we'll look into that further. Thank you very
Over
much
to
for
you.
your time, William.
Keep it up.
All right, take
Not
care
at
of
all.
yourself.
Thanks very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you indeed, and a very generous donation too from William there. I get a life-saving infusion at the hospital once a month, says this listener, but because I've got severe Crohn's disease, it's now 9 weeks ago since I had one. The hospital keep telling me to keep calling for an update, but every day I ring, I keep being told call again as it's cancelled today. I'm currently pregnant and in need of this infusion more than ever. The Taoiseach talked this week about an explosion of delayed cancer diagnoses, but this infusion is the difference in my life and death. Can anyone explain what's going on at the hospital? We need to see a return to full services, and COVID must stop being used as an excuse for cancellations. Okay. Right. Let us take a very short break. Councillor Donal Gilroy in the news at the moment will join us in just under 2 minutes.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Have you bought your NCBI Radio Bingo book yet? Contribute to this fantastic charity and be in with a chance to win daily cash prizes of €400. Books are now available from your local retailer.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you at least support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're gonna have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Millennium Forum Derry on the 26th and 27th of January. Tickets available from Millennium Forum box office and millenniumforum.co.uk. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
From the smallest shrub to the largest tree in an awkward place, Donnelly Tree Services provide a complete range of tree surgery services. Whether you need to remove a dangerous tree or some nuisance branches, Donnelly Tree Services have the experience and expertise to carry out tree surgery to the highest of professional standards. Call 083 005 9939. Donnelly Tree Services, Donegal. No job is too small, no tree is too tall.
Have you heard about e-Power? It's a brand new technology from Nissan, only available at iMotors. We are the only dealer in the Northwest currently offering this technology, so make sure to call in or visit our website, iMotors, to find out more.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme. Councillor Donal Gilroy joins us now. Donal, thanks for your time this morning. Good morning to you. Sorry, Councillor, I had you on the wrong line open there. Right.
Right, that's okay.
That's my fault completely. What's your feelings about your position in this story involving your party, Fianna Fáil, and Independent Deputy Mark McSharry?
I suppose, quite simply, what I was seeking from the very start was an apology for the offensive language. It's far from the worst I've heard, but I think the fact that it was put in a WhatsApp group that involved my colleagues as well was something that I found very hurtful, and I felt it shouldn't have been done that way. If somebody wants to say something, let them say it to me directly.
And was it the nature of the language? Did you feel it was direct and personal towards you? Was your reputation called into question?
Well, it was. It was as if I was doing something to undermine, whereas what I was doing, like your councillors there in Donegal as well that are on the Regional Health Forum, I was fighting to get services into Sligo, and we all know that we get these promises and you're told as an announcement that something is coming, but really what we do at local level and on the Regional Health Forum is we keep the pressure on. But Mark didn't seem to want me to be raising this issue at all. And I don't know why he got so upset about it. It wasn't that I had said anything bad about him or said he didn't get what he claimed he had got. But it was just, there was no need for it. I spoke to my colleague, who happens to be his first cousin, Tom McSharry, and Tom conveyed to him that I felt I was being bullied and that I was looking for an apology, and I didn't hear from him for a few days. The timing is very interesting. He sent the message on the 3rd of October, and the person who deals with complaints in headquarters was away on holidays that week, so the following week I submitted it, and that was when his application came for readmittance to the party. I had never spoken to the party leadership. I know your own TD in Donegal had questioned whether it was a wise idea or not.
That's Charlie McConnell.
Mr. McConnell. Yeah, and he had questioned the wisdom of it. I spoke to Charlie McConnell. I met him at Bloom last June. So I certainly wasn't concocting anything with him, and I've never spoken to him on the phone. The Taoiseach I've probably spoken to 4 times since I was elected in 2019, and none of them would be for more than maybe 30 seconds or a minute.
This is kind of damaging to the party. This is kind of damaging to the party locally and now nationally. Could you not have let it slide? I'm not suggesting you should have, by the way, but
yeah,
I mean, you must.
I know that.
What the consequences
I consider that, and I did let it slide the first time. I did let it slide when it happened back in June or July, the first time that. And there's 3 years of messages in that WhatsApp group since we were elected in 2019. Neither Mark nor anybody else has used language like that at any stage in it. There was no need for it. And, sometimes you just have to, I don't know, some people say to me, oh, it's not bullying or whatever. But, the person who's pushing somebody in the schoolyard doesn't think it's bullying. I'm sure I was only messing with him. I was only pushing.
Yeah.
But really,
but if he the thrust of one of the messages, you fairly tried to F me up there, pouring water all over it, praising Fine Gael Minister Frank Feehan and the others. It would sicken your hole. Good man, best of luck, he added. But if he'd have phrased that differently and said, why are you going on local radio? We're struggling in the polls here. You're praising Fine Gael. We really need to look at our approach and how we speak publicly. Would you? Is it the tone of the text rather than the thrust of it that has left you feeling bullied?
Yes, I think you've nailed it on the head there. It was the tone of it, and sometimes I can be guilty of my own tone can let me down at times. But you turn around afterwards and say, "All right." If you had phoned me up 1-to-1 and said, "What the heck are you at? Why are you doing this?" I'd have said quite simply, the journalist from the radio, like you rang me this morning, the journalist from the radio station phoned me up and said, "I see you had this question in about this yesterday at the Regional Health Forum. Would you like? Will you come on and say a few words about it?" And of course I did. So it was there was nothing like that, and I suppose I was a bit threatening myself because I had said I was threatening that I was going to send the text messages to the media, which I didn't do because I felt they should be kept within the group. I didn't want spreading them out and damaging the man's name. So when I got no response or no apology, I said I'll do it through the internal process, which I was led to believe would be confidential, but someone somewhere along the line leaked it. I don't know who gave out those letters or the WhatsApp messages.
Yeah, I take your point. Do you think, though, that the internal process that has to have been gone through to resolve this issue, and you know yourself what your constituents, the people that voted you know what they're facing on a day-to-day basis. You know the absolute state of affairs that we're in at the moment here and how tough it is. Things are worsening at Sligo University Hospital the same way at the Art Letterkenny University Hospital. So these are your feelings, and I fully respect them. But do you think it's all worth what has come to pass? If you know what I mean, like, would you change anything? And obviously, the power was in Deputy McSharry to change this all with an apology. I take that. Don't get me wrong. But do you think this was worth what has happened now?
Look, it has probably cost me a week's work that I haven't been able to get anything else done for the last week with constant phone calls and people inquiring and asking me what's going on and one thing and another. But in saying that, I think it is because the fact of the matter is somebody has to stand up and say, no, you can't do that. And if the person says, I do what I like, or by their, he didn't say that, but he, by his failure to apologise or to say he was sorry, that was, I can do what I like. And no, you can't.
Okay.
And,
well, last question then, Donal.
We're all responsible.
I think you've made it clear that there's no ulterior motivation for you here, right? But Deputy McSharry does feel that this situation, and this would mean that you're also being used as a pawn if his theory is true, that this is being used and manipulated by the party, probably the higher ups, to try and work against him politically. You know the ins and outs and the cut and thrusts of politics. Do you have any sympathy for him in that position, that maybe possibly that is? And if that scenario is true, I accept you also would be, a pawn in this. It's outside of your control.
Well,
have you sympathy for that point of view?
Yeah, I have sympathy. I have sympathy for the fact that maybe if he feels that way. I don't think he should feel that way. The timing was dictated by when he sent the text message.
Yes, but you never waste a good crisis, Donal. You know that. You never waste a good crisis. If people were waiting in the long grass for Mark McSharry, this came just at the perfect time. Call it you could call it a happy coincidence.
So. Well, I can't answer for the other people, but they've said they didn't. They said they got legal advice as to how to deal with it. The party has a set of rules about how these things get dealt with, and it has a respect and dignity policy, and I didn't feel I felt my dignity had been run down by the comments shared with my colleagues, and perhaps somebody was using it. Look at you're used every day of the week, and people will say to me, "Oh well, if you don't get this thing done for me, I'll get such and such a councillor to do it for me," or whatever. And there's always a bit of that going on, but I really don't think. I don't think Micheál Martin would at the time to be planning anything major like that. I would imagine out of his schedule, my complaint probably got about 2 minutes or 3 minutes of his time, and he said, pass that on to legal, pass it on to the guy in head office that looks after complaints. You deal with it, follow the rule book, and if you have any problems, come back to us.
Yeah, but you know yourself, it's not an individual. There's groups and camps and all that. But I take your point, and I appreciate your time this morning, Donal. Thanks for it.
Thanks very much.
Take care of yourself. That's Councillor, Fianna Fáil Councillor Donal Gilroy there, 086 60 25,000. That's your WhatsApp and text number.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Sleeves rolled up, mayo on the chin, your mate side-eyeing the fancy bun, saving the crispy coating crumbs for last. Now that's how you know it's good.
The McCrispy from McDonald's with 100% chicken breast. Chicken for chicken lovers.
Oi, that's mine.
From 11 a.m, subject to availability.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
If you have magic moments or great memories sitting on your phone or in the cloud, have them printed at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Get larger 7x5 prints for the same as 6x4s. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed and digitalised. Use the in-store kiosk. Download the McGee's Photo Prints app or visit mcgees.ie. Photos printed instantly, within an hour, or in by 10, ready by 5. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mizell and Patrick Feeney are back on tour with a brand new live show full of music, song and side-splitting laughter. See The Three Amigos live. Clonry Hotel, Letterkenny, Tuesday, January 3rd. Tickets priced €35 at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie, where additional fees may apply. The Three Amigos, live in concert. This award-winning show is not to be missed.
Massive stock clearance promotion now on at Haggerty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. See the best selection of sofas, beds and sliding robes, all at unbeatable prices with free delivery included. Our best sale items include 4'6" bed set, mattress base and headboard was €499, now €379 for the lot. Get an extra €100 off any recliner suite, electric or manual. See the best selection and the best priced sliding robes in Ireland, with lots more offers throughout the store. Haggerty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. Great furniture, always better prices.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark-approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and it's a very welcome back to psychotherapist, author and coach Keely Taverner. Good morning to you, Keely. Lovely to see you again. How are you keeping? How are things? And I don't mean that in some sort of a rhetorical sense. Are you okay? Keely, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all is well. I'm very fortunate. Obviously, life has its ups and downs. Yay!
I have you now. Sorry, Keely, there was a slight delay. The signal's poor there, but it's picked up now. That's good to hear that you are doing well, because it's tough times at the moment, isn't it, with everything that's going on? And I suppose it's very easy to focus on maybe everything that's happening outside the house and its impact on the internal workings of the house, and maybe neglecting ourselves and each other.
Absolutely. And I think we have to learn, self-preservation, how best to look after ourselves. And, it wasn't too long ago we were talking about the pandemic and how we would get through that. And here we are again. We're still here. We're still hanging in there. So have faith, and be mindful what you take into your mind, because if not, if you take in too much negativity, it really can bring you down. And I think there are lots of different ways that people are finding to help people. People are coming together more in ways, in communities, thinking about, even food banks. I'm seeing that much more locally, and all types of different people there. So things are shifting, and there are things to be optimistic about. I guess it's what we pay attention to. And it's not that we just go around being happy clappy. We know it's tough times, but we have to be mindful what we energize, what we pay attention to, because if not, it can create a snowball. And the reality is we can all have seasons where we're not doing so well and things are difficult. There's no two ways about it. But self-preservation is essential.
The thing is though, what I think we're seeing more of now, Keely, and it's not a minority. I think it's a significant amount of people that might be in the minority, but not minority in the literal sense, is that people are seeking that security locked into negativity. And everything has to have an angle, or is negative, or there's something going on, or you're not seeing the full picture. And I just wonder sometimes for some people, and it's not a criticism either, if that's a survival mechanism, because there's also a brotherhood or sisterhood, within that way of thinking. Now, I'm not want to label anyone. I'm not talking about any particular issues, but I just do see some people, it used to be called a rabbit hole or whatever it is, that are seem locked in to not a space where I wonder where the light comes from.
Well, absolutely, and let's be frank about that. The benefits of that is that you don't sometimes have to try. You don't have to set outside your comfort zone, and you can settle into a life often of being mediocre, and some sadly that often and inauthentic, and all of which are recipes for common mental health problems. So there's a massive benefit to that. As well as when we, look at social media, you have to be really mindful. I woke up feeling tired this morning, but I was on an endless scroll last night trying to find outfits. It really can rob you of time and energy. And then the next day you don't, I didn't start with the same amount of energy. So, and even before I went up to bed, I was like, I should leave my phone down. I kind of know I've got habits, like leave the phone downstairs, and I didn't. So it meant I went in the bath and I was still scrolling. Went into bed, still scrolling. Woke up this morning, tired, So, discipline is, but I understand, also I've worked in prison, I can also understand the flip side where people opt out. They feel that they can't navigate society. They're never going to be able to make it. They won't fit in. And so they opt for a life of impulse, just getting by, and the fear grips people. And I kind of have respect for both. I have respect for people who because I have my hard days, there's no clear path etched out for me in terms of my own career. Like, I've had to make it up as I go along, and yeah, I've definitely despaired. And I respect why other people who've tried and feel that doors are closed. Absolutely, I understand why they give up, but the negativity, it creates misery. It creates, that pessimistic view, and ultimately, it means you will need to find your like tribe to be around, and your own potential never gets to manifest. I think we do live in the West, and there are still so many options open to us. I've got a lot of clients through the pandemic, through being made redundant. We're now becoming adult, going back into adult education. They're going to uni. They're drawing down, the loans, the funds to fund their education, working part-time. And whilst it wasn't something they imagined 2 years ago, absolutely loving it.
Yeah, indeed. Lots of people have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. But as you say, lots of people have said, what have I been doing for the last 20 or 30 years or 10 years or whatever it might be? A caller says, I split up 4 or 5 years ago from my wife and we have children. I haven't been the same since. Have you any advice, Keely, on how I find myself again? And maybe both parties are moving on at different paces and stuff, but this person still seems trapped in the breakup 4 or 5 years later.
Yes, well, I guess it's whether there's also rumination about, whether that relationship ended because of somebody else wanted to leave the relationship, or where they dumped is basically what I'm indicating, which often means there may be unresolved issues. But this can actually also attach into your own attachment styles, your way of relating. If you take it deeply personal and you get stuck in the sadness and potentially, poor me, you have to be careful of that. The secret really is to begin to start to work on yourself. That's where you start thinking about, what do I need to do to get outside my comfort zone? What would I like to experience in my life before I die? That's where bucket lists are particularly helpful.
Is it possible, because sometimes people just will move on and end up being classed as a bad dad, no involvement in the kid's life, won't answer the phone to their mother, all that kind of stuff. But that is, I'm not defending that behaviour, but that's the way they move on. Forget everything, cancel it. Maybe this guy is being a good dad, maybe emotional support for his former wife, and it's sort of, so how do you fulfill those roles if you wish to, but step out of the relationship in your head?
I'm confused by that. I don't understand.
I just wonder, sometimes to move on requires a bit of separation, okay? But they're sharing children, absolutely. So maybe he's very active in the children's life, and we hope he is. Lots of contact with it. Maybe that's what's making it harder for him to break away from the relationship. So what could he be doing to maintain that element of his life, but also look after himself? If I phrased it a bit better.
That's all right. It's the benefit of developing your own identity away from that relationship. So maybe you need to take up salsa classes, or you might have had a thing for photography. This is where adult education centres, I'm a massive fan of adult education centres. Sometimes you get short courses, depending on your income. Sometimes they're funded, sometimes they're subsidised. And it can be a great way to begin to channel your energy into something different. Because if your energy is focused on loss and what you don't have and a yearning, like this could also link into potentially abandonment issues that we've never really dealt with. So
it's kind of basic, isn't it? It's really effective to what you're saying, but it is slightly more complex. Is, do something to take your mind off it.
Redistribute your energy.
Yeah.
Because don't worry, when you finish your class at 9 o'clock in the evening and you're driving home, the thoughts will come back to you, and that's fine. Yeah. But it's better than having, if you do a course from 5 to 9, at least you've got 3 hours break, and then you're going to do something you enjoy. You're highly likely to meet other people there who might have a similar interest. You might then go for a drink after the course. You're going to expand your network. You might then start to think about expanding, your career opportunities in the long run.
You're growing.
Be something else.
Yeah, you're growing in all aspects of your life. A couple of questions carried over for the last time we spoke, and a fresh one in today with different scenarios, but fundamentally the question is the same. People who want to get out of relationships but don't know how to do it without hurting the other person. So there's three different scenarios, but fundamentally that's the question. So if you don't want to be with someone any longer and you're concerned that you're going to hurt their feelings, how do you break up with them?
Well, the reality is you have to choose. You either stay in a situation that makes you miserable, which means you end up hurting yourself, or actually what can often happen is you'll sabotage the relationship subconsciously anyhow. You may emotionally withdraw, and there might be a whole host of other behaviors that mean the relationship's kind of just dead anyway. There's the quality, the grade of the relationship isn't there. The reality is if you're avoidant and you choose to not have difficult conversations, this may well come back to not wanting to have difficult conversations and avoidant attachment styles, then what may happen, like I said, is you're going to opt out through self-sabotage. Unconsciously, you're going to sabotage the relationship because fundamentally what you want is for somebody else to do that. So, for example, if they cheated on me and then they left me, then you wouldn't have to do it. And while this isn't comfortable, and I think it's an important life skill, especially for people who are empathic and agreeable, we can disproportionately worry about hurting people's feelings. And as such, we don't go there. But the reality is in life, this is actually a part of life. Uncomfortable situations, difficult conversations need to be had. Otherwise, you're going to be in avoidance or smoothing things over and pretending everything's okay. And this has a way of slipping out. It will slip out. So you have to make a choice. Either you consciously do it, or it unconsciously will slip out through your behavior, through language, and through your action.
Early on, should couples establish a space for conversation? A lot of the stuff we talk about, Keely, comes back to you have to have the conversation. You have to say you feel, but often the damage has been done, I think, by the time people get to that realization. Is there a established structure? It sounds so formal, but space in a relationship whereby it's almost like once a week, anything on your mind, this is the safe space to discuss it. As clinical as it might sound, and it shouldn't be quite like that. Is there advantages to that? Is that something you recommend? And how does one go about doing it?
Absolutely. I think it's about maturity, emotional, psychological maturity, and understanding of how relationships can go sour. So, for example, a lack of communication. However, that's based on two. That's based on two people. If you're someone who wants to communicate and you have a partner who doesn't want to communicate with you, the reality is that is the situation you find yourself in. Been there recently myself. So you have choices to make, which is that you can try to be mute, you can try to bury those feelings and carry on regardlessly. Now, some people are able to do that. Some people have a resilience for that. But the relationship will potentially be mediocre and surface level. You may not get the depth of connection that you're yearning for. Or, hopefully, depending on it, it's a two-way tango. If you're with someone who's got attachment style of dismissive and avoidant, they're not going to want to have conversations with you. They in themselves would have to get to a point where they realize, actually, I don't want to keep going from relationship to relationship. I need to work on myself. But if they don't have that psychological maturity and they're going to shut down or, for example, act like they don't know what you're talking about and it's just you overthink things, then the reality is that is the situation you find yourself in. I think it would be lovely if we all had a conversation about, like a to do's and don'ts in a relationship. But often, the reality is things don't work out like that. We can often fall into relationships without necessarily always having the conversation up front, which is a benefit of taking things slowly and having conversations. But it's very difficult if the other person doesn't want to converse with you.
Yeah, or maybe schedule a joint chat with you. And the great thing about modern technology now is you don't have to be in Keely's office. Keely Tavernas is a psychotherapist, author and coach. And how can people get more information on your services, Keely?
You can find me at keyforchange.com. That's FOR and number 4.
Have a lovely day. Great to see you again, Keely. 08660 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
There's always a buzz in Dublin.
But there's something extra special about Dublin at winter time. Experience a whole lot of live entertainment this November. From buskers and bands to theatre and musicals. Enjoy comedy gigs, concerts, and even music trails. It's time to make some noise. It's time to make some plans. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Winter in Dublin. It's magic. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
Suckler farmers could be paid to destock. In this week's Farmers Journal, we reveal how farmers could be paid to cut cow numbers, pressure bills to get farmers into acres scheme, front-loaded fodder scheme payments to begin next month. Find out if your land is zoned under the new land tax. We reveal the top 5 issues in cross-compliance inspections. Plus, find out how you can get a free pair of Dunlop wellies worth €85 inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Suffering from hearing loss? Kingsbridge Hearing Care has arrived in the Northwest. Yes, we have a brand new clinic location at Kingsbridge Private Hospital in Ballykelly and can offer you a full range of hearing care provision, including enhanced hearing assessments and earwax removal treatment. So, what are you waiting for? Don't let hearing loss hold you back. Get in touch with our expert audiology team today. Call us on 048 9066 7030 or visit kingsbridgehearingcare.co.uk.
When it comes to pensions, we all need some guidance in making the right decisions. At John F. Lowery Financial Services, you'll get expert advice on all aspects of pension planning, like how much you should contribute, ensuring you're going into the right contract for your employment circumstances, and claiming the tax relief. Our team of highly qualified advisors have access to all the insurance companies, so we truly can be your one-stop pension provider. To arrange a personal consultation, visit jfl.ie or call 91 John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Joe Gallagher Entertainments presents the world's greatest ABBA show. Direct from Sweden, Arrival, featuring original ABBA musician. Sunday the 8th of January, Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Follow us on Facebook, Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Now, Father Sean Sheehy recently described transgenderism as lunacy and spoke about the sinfulness of sex between two men or two women, and said it was horrible the HSE was given free condoms to teenagers, adding it promotes promiscuity. Father Sheehy joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Father.
Good morning to you.
I mean, I suppose you've seen the fallout from this. Some have saying you've doubled down on your views. On reflection, would you change anything that you said?
No, nothing.
Why are you? Have you sort of been waiting to get this off your chest?
No. Actually, this is all based on the scriptures for the Sunday, which I always base my homilies on.
Do you think the Catholic Church is being hypocritical then in its, from some quarters, its criticism of you for really just saying its teachings?
I'm not going to judge a person as hypocritical. What I am going to say is that they don't really know the scriptures, and they certainly don't know the teaching of the church. And if they do know, they certainly don't abide by it if they're condemning what I said.
So there are those within the church then that need to check themselves? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. We all need to check ourselves, every one of us.
And I mean,
constantly.
And I mean, do you extend your views to lots of other parts of the teachings? Like, what's your views on single parents, for example, couples that live together but aren't married?
Well, of course, it's the same thing. I mean, the scriptures themselves, they call that fornication. That's the sin of fornication.
Mm. It doesn't feel very forgiving or spiritual to me, though, Father. Your
Well, the fact is, that to say that is not a sin, then, is actually to encourage people to keep doing that. Well, if it's a sin, then it's contrary to the law of God. And if it's contrary to the law of God, then those people are not living in accord with the teaching of Jesus or the teaching of his church, which is necessary for salvation.
Do you think that the Catholic Church, to ensure its survival, then maybe needs to get a bit more hardline to stick to its guns, to put it like that?
Well, it's not so much hardline as it is preaching the truth. I mean, I remember, having taught ethics for a number of years in university, where a student asked me one day a question, and he said, look, I don't want your opinion. He said, I want to know exactly what the church teaches about a particular area of philosophy. And I said, I'm glad you asked that. I said, because my opinion will die with me, but the teaching of the church will go on until the end of time. And so people have a right to know exactly what the church teaches. Then it's up to them to embrace it or to reject it. But at least they know now what they are embracing and what they are rejecting.
Are practicing homosexuals welcome at your masses?
Of course, everybody is welcome at the masses, but if they really want to be able to receive Jesus Christ, they need to repent and seek forgiveness, because otherwise, as St. Paul says, they're eating the body of Jesus and drinking his blood to their destruction.
Yeah.
If they don't repent of their sin.
Well, you're playing to the crowd a little bit because, still...
No, I was not praying to anybody. No, I was just simply preaching the gospel.
Yeah, but if you just let me finish the question with respect, Father.
Sorry.
That's fine. I appreciate your time. Because obviously, it's very easy to single out, homosexuality or transgenderism because, they're not reflective of the wider community. But if you had in the same sermon talked of, people who have been divorced or people who are living in sin, in inverted commas, or those who had sex outside marriage, dare I even say those who masturbate, you wouldn't have probably had the standing ovation that you received because you would have been catching everyone, perhaps arguably, you'd have been catching everyone in the congregation.
No. See, when I mention those, I'm talking about those that were enshrined in legislation. And those are the ones actually that are promoted, and sadly, they're affecting our children, they're affecting our teenagers, and so on. So I certainly would not eliminate. I mean, there are all kinds of sins. I mean, let's face it. And the fact is, I also said to the people, based on Jesus' law of love, who among us, for example, can love God with all our heart? We don't. And that's what. And if we don't do that, then we are sinners. But we're not sinners without hope, because Jesus offers us forgiveness. But we are not going to seek forgiveness unless we recognize our sin and then repent of it, and then seek forgiveness.
Okay. Right. And what about the reaction to this? Do you feel that you're speaking for maybe more people than those listening might imagine that can't express these views publicly, but you, at your stage of your career, feel that you comfortably can? Do you think that you're advocating on behalf of more widely held views out there?
I mean, look, I certainly, having spent most of my life in America, was quite used to opposition. Also quite used to the people expecting to hear the word of God, in season and out of season, convenient or inconvenient. That was the expectation, because basically they had a right to that. People have a right to know what God calls of them so they can intelligently and freely respond to it. Mm-hmm. And as Jesus himself said, you will be judged according to your conduct. And our conduct flows from our beliefs. And so people need to know then what God asks us to do, by the same token, what he asks us not to do because it's sinful.
All right. Father Sean Sheehy, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. God bless. Bye-bye.
Check out these special offers at Simpson's Supermarket Letterkenny. Fire logs 10-pack €12, Bold 100 wash €10, Fairy liquid 1 litre €2, Fairy dishwasher tabs 78-pack €9. For Halloween, we have all your needs, from pumpkins, face paints and loads of sweets for all the trick-or-treaters. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe for great food, teas and coffees, only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. Simpson's Supermarket, great value every day.
Imagine a better way to manage your energy with a smart plan from Board Gosh Energy. Our smart plans, like Free Time Saturday or Free Time Sunday, can help you lower your bills and reduce your energy usage. Find a smart plan that works for you and your home at boardgoshenergy.ie/smart. Free energy units are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday or Sunday each week with this tariff. Customers can choose Saturday or Sunday. Smart meter required. Terms and conditions apply. See boardgoshenergy.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at the Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Residential property owners. Has your property been newly built or refurbished to a livable condition since November 1st last year? If so, you need to submit a local property tax return by the deadline of December 2nd, 2022. For further information, go to revenue.ie. Don't miss the deadline. File your LPT return on time.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
Okay, now just some comments to wrap things up. Greg, you summarised the Father Sean Sheehy story correctly in your opening remarks this morning. He was only preaching the teaching of the Catholic Church, and the bishop and priest who are condemning him are totally wrong. The word hypocrite keeps swirling in my head. You see it? Like, as I say, it's in no way to... That is the reality. Good morning, Greg. I have no sympathy for Mark McSharry. This is a man on your show said he would vote against the government, then voted with them, gaslighting the public. Not very fond of him there. Okay, that's your point of view. We appreciate it. A couple of requests that I didn't get to earlier on because we were so busy. Hoping you could play a birthday request for my uncle Cecil Laird from Montertini, whose birthday is today. Any song or Hit the Diff? Well, you know what? I'm sure Hit the Diff will be on later. That comes in from his sensible nephew, Levi Laird in Scotland. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the show today. Thank you for listening. Researcher and producer Caroline Orr, thanks for her help as well. We're back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. John Breslin is just on his way into studio. But first, let's get a news update and say good afternoon now to Donald Kavanagh.
Thanks very much indeed, Greg. The Fianna Fáil councillor at the centre of a bullying row says Mark McSharry's comments in the WhatsApp group were very hurtful and should have been conveyed to him directly. Deputy McSharry